Today, I'm going to be sharing with you the entire framework on how I got started with remote high-ticket sales and how I went from working at Dairy Queen for $8.25 an hour to then making over $3,000 in a single hour by taking simple Zoom calls and even hitting $20,000 months from places like Colombia, Dubai, Bali, Thailand, South Korea without a degree and while working on my own schedule. It's the exact same framework that Richard used to go from being stuck working 40-hour weeks and needing to ask his boss for permission to use the restroom to now living in Thailand and making between $8,000 to $12,000 every single month. It's also the same framework I used to help Bailey, who had zero prior experience in remote high-ticket sales, land his first offer making $6,000 per month while still working his main job. Or Areno, who landed an offer working for a men's dating coach and now has the on-target earnings potential of $5,000 to $8,000 every single month. Welcome to the most valuable video I've created on YouTube. And if you're watching this, you're different because this is a different kind of YouTube video. And if you're anything like me and you cannot stop thinking about anything other than your business, or you want to create your own schedule, be your own boss, and it's not so much about the flashy cars or clothes as it is about being able to travel whenever and wherever you want without needing to look at your bank account while taking care of the people around you who you love, then this is for you. This is going to be an entire free A to Z step-by-step course on exactly what I did to get started as a complete beginner in remote high-ticket sales and how you can get started today and make your first $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 online. Now, what are we going to cover in this video? First, what is remote high-ticket sales and how you can have success with it today, how you can use the skill to stop playing small and live the life of your dreams, and how to land remote high-ticket offers that will have business owners begging to stuff your pockets with 5-figure commission checks each month. But first of all, hi, my name is Brenden Zadow-Hogan, and in 2017, I was blending ice cream at Dairy Queen, addicted to everything that kept me from my potential. I knew I didn't want to work a traditional 9-to-5 forever, so like most people who are looking for a way out, I joined the Air Force to become an air traffic controller, only to realize that it was still the same trap, working for someone else with no control over where I lived or when I worked. In March of 2018, I fell back into the same cycle, drinking almost every day, which led me to some questionable decisions. I decided that was enough. I found the gym and started looking for ways to make money on my own terms. And I tried everything: drop shipping, real estate, SMMA, crypto, affiliate marketing, all of which either required way too much upfront time, money, or both to get started. I didn't have a plan, but I knew I needed a change and I didn't want to continue on this same path, working for someone else forever, so I decided to leave the military and figure it out. Soon after separating, I met someone while training at my Muay Thai gym who was already making money online, who then introduced me to remote high-ticket sales. He said to me, "I made almost $30,000 this month by taking Zoom calls from my laptop." I looked at him and thought, this must be bullshit. That sounds too good to be true. But then he explained further and it began to make sense. He said to me, all I do is have conversations with people over Zoom who are booking onto my calendar to speak with me and learn more. There's no cold calling, no pushy sales tactics. And since there are many successful online business owners who are making millions of dollars every single month selling high-ticket products and services over the internet right now, who are too busy to take each individual call themselves, they hire people like us. People like Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozy, Grant Cardone, Andrew Tate, Iman Gadzhi, Luke Belmar, the list goes on. They sell things like masterminds, online consulting, lead generation, business development, health and fitness coaching, teaching people how to play piano or ghostwriting books for people, and many, many more. Auto wrapping cars for mechanics, real estate investing, underwater basket weaving. There's looks maxing courses, which all normally range from at least $5,000 all the way up to $50,000 or more. And again, these business owners are everywhere. And as a high ticket closer, You'd simply talk to these pre-qualified, warm inbound leads over Zoom in order to help them solve their problems, and you do so for 10 to 15% commission. And if you're wondering why would these business owners trust me to close deals for them, well, the truth is they probably won't at first. This is why most people who get into this space start out as what's called a sales development representative, which is by far the easiest and fastest way to make your first $10,000 to $20,000 online, because you don't need any prior experience, and all you do is speak to these same warm inbound leads either through the DMs of the business owner's account or over the phone in order to then book them onto a Zoom call or a sales call with the closer. And for this, you'd still earn 5% commission. That means just 5 sales on a $25,000 offer at 5% commission means you'd make over $6,000 all from just sending some DMs or talking on Zoom. And that's when it clicked for me and I decided to go all in. I then spent every waking moment learning the skill, researching, testing, and failing, and I began to question whether I was good enough. I almost gave up. I thought, maybe I should have just stayed in the military. That was until I finally landed my first high-ticket offer where I began working with some of the biggest names in the industry that you probably have heard of, selling offers ranging from $29,000 all the way to $89,000 US dollars. And now I'm making this video with the sole purpose of sharing everything I've learned after tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours invested, saving you the time and energy I spent. So don't go being a dopamine monkey and start scrolling to the comments, because if you give me your full attention and take notes, I can guarantee that this will be the most valuable high-ticket sales video you will ever watch. Now, remote high-ticket sales is by far the fastest and safest way for anyone to start making money online, and I've honestly never seen anything like it. It's a real skill with a simple path inside of a rapidly growing multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's not some get-rich-quick scheme. You will have to put in the work, but if you can follow a proven process and stay consistent, you will succeed. Now, what is remote high-ticket sales? To begin, let's start with what it's not. High-ticket sales is not meant to be pushy. It's not meant to be sleazy, and it's not about selling someone into something that they don't need or want. It's nothing like the old school traditional high pressure sales tactics, which if you use will end up doing way more harm than good. Because all sales is asking skilled questions that allow prospects to come to their own conclusions. Because a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still, which simply means what you say is garbage and what the prospect says is gospel. Never assume what the prospect means and ask clarifying questions to understand their situation fully. For example, they say, "It's been a rough few months." You'd say, "Rough? What do you mean by rough?" Or, rough can mean different things to different people. What does it mean for you? And the only thing you should ever assume on a sales call is the sale, by correcting any and all language from the prospect that sounds unsure. For example, they say, "I think I can make $10,000 per month," or "I think this is what I can use to get me to my goals." You'd say, "You think? What do you mean by you think? Is there any reason you feel you couldn't? No? Okay, why not?" You cannot close an "I think I can." You'd ask, "What are you unsure about?" or "What's stopping you from being 100% sure?" Because within every sales call, there are certain answers to find and objectives to meet. And learning to sell with objectives will make the process predictable and allow you to flow the conversation naturally while ensuring you get everything you need to put the prospect into the buying pocket. Now, what is the buying pocket? It's when the prospect is aware of the present pain associated with their problem, the future pleasure associated with them achieving their goals, and the future pain if nothing changes. When you can make the prospect aware of these emotions and then pair it with the right level of urgency and commitment, and they acknowledge that they want your help, they're in the buying pocket. And unlike what most gurus on the internet will tell you, the goal is not to blindly follow a script and ask questions. The goal is to put the prospect into this buying pocket. Now, let's talk about what people actually buy, and it's not what most people think. People do not buy because of you, your offer, your company, or even your testimonials. What people buy are states on both a surface and an emotional level. Put differently, prospects have a current situation and a desired situation on each surface and emotional level. And when the path of least resistance from current situation to desired is your offer, the prospect will buy. For example, people buy coffee because they want to go from feeling tired, groggy, and unproductive to alert and focused. And the more clearly you can define current versus desired state, the more clear the gap will be, and the prospect will then have the tendency to resolve this tension. And when the conversation is done properly, they'll do so through buying your offer. You can consider this as two islands, one being heaven and the other being like hell, with heaven being their ideal outcome, what they want life to look like, and hell being what life will be like, or what life is right now if they stay stuck in their current situation. Now, how do we define this heaven and hell island? We do so by defining each with numbers and specific details. For example, current versus desired income, or current versus desired weight, current relationship versus desired, or current occupation and freedom level versus desired. If we cannot use numbers, then elicit specific details. Think about it as if you're having the prospect paint a crystal clear portrait in their mind. What can they see, think, feel, touch, smell? What's their day-to-day look like, for example? What changed recently to where you realize making an extra $20,000 per month would solve all your problems? What was the specific moment? Most times, you'll want to get specific on both the detail and the number so you can attach a tangible number to an emotional feeling. And after you figure it out, both heaven and hell island, the prospect is going to want to take action in resolving that tension. However, just because the prospect wants to take action doesn't mean they'll take action with you. The key is to build the bridge that becomes the path of least resistance using your offer as a solution, tailoring it to what each person needs, and then destroying all other potential bridges like competitors and objections. This is done by addressing and correcting any objections and uncertain language as they come up through the call, and the way you make them come out during the call is by asking specific and strategic questions, which we'll cover here shortly. But first, let's go over exactly how to frame a sales call. And in order to do so, we must first understand what frames are and which ones to take. And a frame is nothing more than a point of perspective supported by your identity, beliefs, and values. And there are three main frames that you need to hold from open to close, which are moral authority, value, and the expert frame. Let's talk about moral authority first. The moral authority frame is when you have complete and total influence over your prospect because they know that you have their best interest at heart, and nothing is more influential. How do we establish this? We do so through active listening, asking skilled questions, and using trust-based language. For example, if you were even to consider moving forward with something like this, when do you feel you'd be open to doing so versus when do you want to move forward? Do you see the difference? Another way of gaining moral authority is by being a leader and having belief in your prospect, because most people only have 2 to 3 people in their lives who believe in them more than they do. And we must do our best to step into that small circle by finding greatness within every prospect. It might seem challenging at first, but if you come on the call with the intention of looking for it, you will find it. Next is the value frame, which is when you have a ruthless independence from the outcome. You want to give off that you are the best in the world at what you do, that they need your help, not the other way around, and that they are lucky if you make them an offer. And if they say no, then it's their loss. If you detach yourself from the outcome, though, then what do we put our attachment on? We put our attachment on getting the prospect the transformation they want, figuring out the problem they're facing, which is keeping them from getting it, and then keeping them truly committed to aligning their actions with their words. And we do this by being a leader and taking a stand for them, which you can think of as commitment to their vision as opposed to closing them on our product. If you can nail this process, you cannot lose. Another way we hold the value frame is by holding the expert frame. The expert frame, simply put, is that you are the expert in this context, and therefore you have a proven process on determining exactly what is the shortest path to get the prospect's desired outcome, and you will not prescribe anything until that process is complete. Your frame on what the proper process is stronger than their frame. And context here determines authority. For example, a plastic surgeon or a pro football player is used to receiving status until they step into the ring with an MMA fighter. It doesn't matter how much money your prospect makes, what they do, what businesses they have, or what kind of life they lived. They're stepping into the ring with you, the MMA fighter, in this analogy. But how do we hold this frame throughout the call? We do so by taking clear leadership at the beginning by framing the call. We also do not give any coaching prior to fully diagnosing their situation. Instead, we let our prospect sit in the weight of their pain. We do not hold judgment, and we do not let our ego get in the way of our process. So now that we know what frames to hold on a sales call, let's talk about the questions to ask to get prospects closing themselves. And again, it's important to keep in mind that you shouldn't just read questions off of a script like someone who wants to get replaced by AI. To have success, you must understand why we're asking the questions we ask and what answers we're looking for so we can guide the conversation the right way while keeping it tailored and individual to each prospect. Because as you know, not everyone is the same, and it's unnatural to treat people like they are while reading off of a script. So if instead you think of it as looking for the right answers and the correct information to gather rather than worrying about the next question to ask, then you will beat the salesperson who does not. Because if you are reading off of a script, you are not having a real conversation. You are not actively listening, and you are not able to be 100% present, which means you will not be able to give 100% focus and effort towards understanding and helping the prospect. So with that in mind, let's get into an example of some questions you could ask in order to gather the information and lead the conversation into one that is productive. Here, we'll use the example of someone trying to fix the lead generation in their business by hiring someone to run paid ads for them. And normally, I'll just start off with, hello, how's your day? Where are you calling from? If they ask where I am, can say, hey, I'm in Colombia, looking for my wife. Maybe I'll spend about 20 to 40 seconds here on building small rapport before jumping into the call by saying, hey, I know we only have about 40 minutes or so set aside. Do you mind if we just jump straight into it? Cool. Asking this will make sure that they are engaged, listening, and won't have any distractions coming up between now and the next hour. And you really just don't want to waste their time, your time, or come off as someone trying to build fake, useless, and unproductive conversation that makes you both dumber in the process and lowers your status. Then I'll continue the frame by saying, great. Now, the first part of this call is really more for us to find out a bit about your background, what you're looking for, and what you're doing now to see if there's actually alignment between what you want and what we do, because sometimes there are people we can't really help. But if there is alignment, I'll walk you through next steps and exactly how that would look. Sounds good? Cool. Then I'll lead into the first important question, which almost never changes. Even though I did just say not to script questions, this one is a bit scripted and is used to figure out more about them, where they're at, what they're struggling with, and what they're looking for really from the beginning of the call. And that first question is, so Raekwon, in your own opinion, what is the biggest challenge you're facing when it comes to making more money with your online business right now? This will allow you to determine if the prospect is someone who rationalizes their situation or if it's someone who is clear on their problem, which then will allow you to get clear on the effect it's having on them and how to diagnose it, because business is about solving problems, and if there is no problem, there is no sale. And once you are clear on the problem, you'll then want to figure out what they're currently doing to try and solve their problem. So you can ask, what are you doing now to try and get more leads or to try and make more money? How is it going? What worked? What didn't? Since they're here on the call with you looking for help, surely things are not working the way they want. So you can ask why they feel they haven't gotten the results that they were looking for. And this is really to see if they place the blame externally or internally. And from there, you can figure out their previous buying patterns and what they do or don't like about the solutions they've tried. So you can offer a new one that's unique and tailored to them based on their past experiences and results. From here, I like to go into information gathering mode to understand their surface level goal and financial situation by asking, okay, and how much money would you need to be making every single month in order to feel like this was a success? They might say, $30K per month would be great. Okay, and how much are you making now? Yeah, $15,000 per month right now. Okay, and what about after expenses? Are you able to save any of that $15K, or is it all going back into the business? They might say, yeah, I have money saved, or I don't, which will tell you more about if they're financially qualified. But if they are making and saving money, now you know they are financially qualified, and you can ask, how long has that been the goal for? How long have you been wanting to effectively double your income from $15,000 to $30,000? So for 2 years, you've been making half of the amount of money that you want to make. That's $15,000 per month you've been missing out on for the last 24 months, which is around $360,000. Like, what else has not having the right tools and information cost you in time, energy? You really want them to feel the weight and seriousness of their situation without bailing them out or allowing them to bail themselves out. So do not undermine the facts and the numbers that they give you. Next, you want them to explain why they're interested and sold on your specific method for solving their problem, because they booked in on your calendar for a reason. So figure it out by asking something like, there's a lot of ways to get that extra $15,000 per month, but for you specifically, why did you decide that paid ads were the best as opposed to maybe cold email or organic content? From there, you want to see why they are sold on your company. So you can ask, what was it about us specifically, our founder or our business, that stuck out to you and had you wanting to book in a call today? This will get them to explain why they trust in your brand and your specific method before they can give you an objection about it later on. Another way to prevent objections during this part of the call is by simply asking if they have the time to invest into learning a new skill, and if they have a wife or a partner that they need on the call in order to make a decision. If they say yes to either, I'll immediately pre-handle the time or partner objection right then and there before waiting for it to come up at the end, which we'll talk about exactly how to do later on. Next, I'd want to understand their why and their real goals beyond the surface level answer of, I want to make more money, by asking, and what's your biggest motivator behind wanting to double your income to $30,000 per month? Like, how would your life be different? Or what could you do that maybe you can't do now? What does your day-to-day look like? Everyone will say at least one of these 4 things, being that they either want more time, more money, more freedom, or improved relationships, with relationships being the strongest driving factor. And if you can figure out how to tie their ideal outcome to improving their relationships, you will beat the salesperson who cannot. So for example, they say they want more time. You can ask, okay, more time to do what? Oh, I want to travel. Why is that important? Why do you want to travel? Who would benefit if you were able to travel anywhere at any time? Where would you go? Who would you take with you? Again, getting them to paint a vivid image in their mind. Next, you'll need to ask commitment and consequence questions before transitioning into the pitch, which would sound something like this. And given it's already been 2 years, what changed recently to where you thought enough is enough? I need to figure out a way to make an extra $15,000 per month. What was the specific moment? You want them to imagine the exact moment and turning point in their mind that made them realize they want to change, and then relive it. Maybe it's when they didn't have enough money to pay for their rent, or their wife left them, or they missed their kids growing up, or they just realized their business will fail if they do not make a change. Everyone has a specific moment, and it's extremely important you pull this memory out, even if you need to rephrase the question a bit differently. Maybe 1 out of 50 prospects won't be able to come up with one on the call, in which case you could ask something like, do you think maybe not having this epiphany might be part of the problem? Waiting for a moment that might never come to make a change in your life? Do you think that might be the same thing that's been keeping you stuck? From here, you want to build a gap in their mind between where they are and where they want to be by asking, and if you made the decision 2 years ago to get the tools and information required to make that extra $15,000 per month, where would you be today? Getting them to imagine and understand that they could already be living their ideal life now if they got the right resources 2 years ago. And then you can bring them back to reality and build that gap by asking, and with the current knowledge you have around running paid ads, getting more clients, and doubling your monthly income, how close would you say you are to achieving that ideal life right now? They will say not close, because if they were, then they wouldn't be here on the call with you. And then you can get commitment from them by asking, and are you willing to wait another 2 years and not take the action you need to take to get the tools you need and just stay stuck in this middle of the road limbo you are now? No? Well, why not? Lean out a bit and get them to sell themselves and explain why they want to do this to you, and more importantly, to themselves. Then ask, okay, Time to make a change then, possibly? Well, of course. And then you can transition into your pitch. You ask these final commitment and consequence questions because if you have your prospect in a state of positive emotion, the prospect will only be thinking about what could go right. But if you want to 10x your sales, you need them to understand what the consequences are of doing nothing and staying in their current situation. Now you can transition into your pitch naturally and while allowing the prospect to feel in control by saying, cool, I feel like we covered a lot. Is there anything else I didn't ask that you feel like I should know? No, not really. Awesome. So I'm clear on where you're at and what you're looking for, and I'm confident we can help you get there because we've helped too many people at this point for me not to say that. And if you'd like, I can walk you through the entire process of how we'd make that happen for you specifically from A to Z. And then you'd go into the pitch, which should be no more than 10% of your entire call, and you'd present your offer in 3 to 4 pillars max by making it the bridge between their heaven and hell island using their own language and criteria from the fact-finding portion of the call. For example, you know how you said you wanted help with getting warm inbound leads booked on your calendar who already know who you are and are ready to buy? Well, what we do for that is create you a profitable VSL funnel with nurturing emails and automations to turn cold traffic into paying customers. And what that means for you is you'll never need to cold call, email, or guess where your next client is coming from, so you can make a predictable income and ultimately have more time to spend with your family. And after each pillar and deliverable, check for agreement to make sure they aren't falling asleep and are actively engaged. And once you've finished pitching, ask, cool, and is that the help you feel like you'd be looking for? Nice. And what in particular stood out to you? Cool. So do you have any questions from here, or would you like to go over next steps and pricing? Great. This will allow them, again, to feel like they're in control of where the conversation is going. You'll say, great, next steps from here, or we get you onboarded into the program. I'll send over an email with all your login information, and you'll get access today into everything, and you can start working towards those 30K months. So for 6 months of that done-for-you lead generation, where we'll guarantee your next 20 clients and get you to that 30K month, so you never need to miss a holiday with your kids again, it's just $12,000. What's your phone number so I can go ahead and send over that link? And congratulations, you just closed a deal and made $1,200 in commission from a 1-hour phone call. And while most sales coaches on the internet will try telling you to drop the price and stay completely silent until the prospect responds, you instead first want to walk them through the process by explaining next steps after the investment and what they can expect so you don't cause sales resistance by leading them into the dark. After the price drop, you'll probably get some sort of objection because it's a completely normal part of the sales process. And while objection prevention throughout the call is much better than objection handling at the end and is done by correcting any uncertain language and addressing potential objections as they come up, you can do everything right and then still get hit with objections, which are simply reasons that the prospect gives for not buying, which is usually triggered by resistance caused by the salesperson who is untrained. But after listening to what I'm about to tell you, you'll eliminate 90% of objections before the close, only leaving room for logistical ones like pricing. You'll eliminate these objections before the close by understanding what 7 beliefs your prospect must hold in order for them to buy. Understanding these beliefs will allow you to never feel lost in your process and will get the prospect to closing themselves because every single objection maps back to one or more of these beliefs. And those 7 beliefs are pain, doubt, cost, desire, money, support, and trust. Pain is when the prospect must believe they have a problem that is keeping them from getting what they want because, like we said before, business is about solving problems. And if there is no problem, there is no sale because they will not see the value or the need for the investment since they won't understand how you can help them in the first place. Doubt is when the prospect believes they can't fix the problem on their own or that doing so will waste unnecessary time, money, energy in comparison to your offer, which eliminates the I'll do it on my own objection. Cost is when the prospect understands that doing nothing and staying in their current situation is more painful than the investment in time and money, which creates urgency and eliminates the I don't have enough time objection. Desire is when the prospect believes that solving the problem will lead to a better future. So we must know what they want, why they want what they want, how getting what they want will positively impact their lives or the lives of people around them, and then attaching a tangible number to that outcome. Next is money, which is the belief that the prospect has the resources and the willingness to solve the problem. If they don't have the resources, that's not an objection, but instead a condition, which we can overcome through the open wallet test, which we'll talk about later. Then there's support, which is the belief that the people around them, like their partner or spouse, will support them in fixing the problem, which, of course, prevents partner objections. Finally, there's trust, which is when the prospect sees their solution as clearly different, unique, and superior to similar methods they've tried in the past, which eliminates the "I've been burned in the past" objection. We build these beliefs by using Socratic dialogue, and if you think of these beliefs like a checklist and check off the boxes before transitioning into the close, the chance of the prospect buying dramatically increases. What is Socratic dialogue? Socratic dialogue is the process of asking skilled questions to help someone come to the same conclusion you have as if it was their own idea. When you get the prospect expressing that they hold the above 7 beliefs, it will feel incongruent for them not to move forward at the end of the call. And when you look at most great closers, while they certainly can handle objections, most of their closes are only a matter of handling logistical ones, like making it work financially for the client, because they're able to get the prospect to verbally express that they hold the above 7 beliefs during the fact-finding part of the call. It's crucial not to take objections personally and to accept them as an inevitable part of the process and even look forward to them. Think in your head and give off in your tonality that "I'm concerned and I want to help you out with XYZ." If you get mad or become confrontational, you'll be seen as that. But if you're displaying being helpful, then you'll be seen as being helpful. When you have this mindset shift, your language changes. You'll sit back, relax, talk slow, not take it personal, and come from the same side of the issue as the prospect. So then it becomes us against the objection instead of you against me. And all good objection handling is simply overcoming the right objection without pissing people off. And there are 2 categories of objections. The first being smoke screens, which are usually "think about it," "partner," "I have to pray on it." And the other being real objections, like not having enough money or not seeing the value. So when the prospect says, "I need to think about it," which is not a real objection, because nobody really needs to think about anything if they have the information required to make a decision. So you'll say, "Yeah, I hear you, no stress." Before you do go and think about it, do you feel like what we covered here today could potentially get you to your goal of doubling your income and hitting that 30K month? And immediately, as you hear a confident yes, you'll ask them, "And why do you feel like it can?" before they even have a chance to talk more, because if you let them go on, they might then start talking about the negatives, but you, of course, want them justifying and talking about the positives. Now, if they say, I think it can," or sound unsure in any way, you'd say, "You sound a bit unsure. I mean, is there any reason you feel like it can't?" They'll say, "No. I mean, there's no reason I feel like it could not." And then you'd say, "Okay, and why do you feel like it could?" To get them selling themselves on why it's a good fit and to get them telling you the benefits. Once they give you the reasons why they like it, you can ask, "And what is it that's coming up for you that makes you want to think about it, just to see if I can help?" They will either give you the real objection. If they say again they still want to think about it, you can say, "I completely hear you. So would you say it's a case of uncertainty then around the investment, or is it that you just don't have the investment?" And they might say, "Yeah, I just don't have the money." And now you know that it was a smokescreen and it's really a financial objection, which is easy to overcome by getting another tie down and saying something like, "Okay, then investment aside, there isn't anything keeping you from being less than 100% sure that this is what you want to do?" Correct. So in other words, you're not in a "should I do this" place where you're unsure about me or the program or whether or not this is the next best step. It's more of a "how can I do this" place where it's your goal to do this. It's just a matter of making it work financially. They'll either say yes, or they'll give you the real objection, which I cover how to handle every objection in another video. Just DM me on Instagram and I'll send it over to you for free. If they say yes, then you can say, "Okay, most of our clients do take care of the investment up front, but for certain clients, we feel it's not always the best option based on where they are financially. Did you want to explore ways we could possibly break it up for you?" They will either say no, and at least you didn't end on a "think about it" objection, and you can still try offering payment plans, or they'll say yes, and you can say, "Great, so we don't actually have any set payment plans. It really is all customized depending on what's best for the client, and based on where you're at, it might be possible for us to make something work now, or at least create a game plan for you to work towards in the future so you can do it sometime down the road. That said, are you comfortable with having an open and honest conversation about exactly where you're at financially right now? And based on that, we can figure out what's the best next step from here. And 99% of the time, they will say yes, or the other 1%, they'll leave the call. But from there, you'll say, okay, and what's your cash on hand exactly right now? If they answer with anything other than a number that they can put down today as an initial investment, then say, okay, are you able to split this up to where you pay half today and the other half in 30 days? If not, ask, okay, and what amount are you able to invest today into getting the skills needed in order to fix your inconsistent lead flow and double your monthly income? They'll either give a number, in which case you collect the down payment and the rest on another call, or they'll hang up and leave, in which case at least you didn't end on a think about it objection. I'll go through the rest of the objections and how to handle them later on, but now that you know how to collect payment on a sales call, let's talk about how to find an already successful online business that's printing cash so you can then plug yourself in and begin making money from your laptop on your own schedule from anywhere in the world today. And the reason this is so important is because I was selling an offer for $89,000 to warm leads who raised their hand and booked on my calendar to speak with me and learn more. Some days I had prospects closing themselves since they already knew and trusted the business owner who had over 1 million followers on social media and multiple books published. On the other hand, another person could be selling an offer for $5,000 where there isn't much social proof and the sales process isn't yet validated. And the easiest way to begin working on one of these offers is through referrals, networking, and really by having a connection in the industry who knows exactly what companies are hiring right now. This way, it's extremely easy to get your first role, whether as an appointment setter or as a closer. And I have dozens of people in my network who are looking to hire high-ticket closers right now. For example, I had one recently for Clavicular who sells a course on how to improve your looks, and he makes over $500,000 every single month. You can look this shit up, I am not joking. And all you'd be doing is simply following an already proven process. But understand, it is not as easy as it sounds. You will make mistakes along the way, you will fail, you will get rejected more than once, but if you can put in the reps and you do not stop, you will succeed. Just like with anything else. And after landing your first role, which can easily allow you to make around $5,000 to $8,000 per month, it's then time to leverage your skills and find an offer where the business owner will be handing you 5-figure commission checks each month. And you do so by networking and applying to sales agencies and recruiters. These agencies are paid by the business owners to find, train, and manage their sales team because when a business owner gets to a point where they want to scale, they, of course, need to automate and hire out things like sales and marketing so they can spend more time focused on fulfillment and other things that actually move the needle forward in their business. And this is where most great offers are gatekept, because if the company has enough money to pay an agency to manage their sales team, then of course they are making good money. And I have a list of dozens of these agencies that you can apply to that I've built after being in this space for years, meeting them online, in person, or even paying to be in certain communities and networking groups. Just DM me on Instagram, again, letting me know that you came from this video, and if you're serious, I'll send it over to you for free. But if you don't have a connection in this space, then let's talk about how to find offers on your own and how to prepare for them. Because there are a few things you'll need to learn from creating a first intro video, interviewing, filtering companies. So let's dive into it. Some requirements when it comes to finding top companies are that they have been around for a while, have a proven sales process in place so you are not the one coming in to set that all up for them. Salespeople on the team are already having success and making the income that you would like to be making. Good marketing. They have a great personal brand. It's a big company with financing options available. It meets your goals, and they are good on fulfillment, delivering on their promise. At any level you're at, there is an A-plus company that you can work with. Now, how do we find these offers? Well, let's look at top salespeople in the space, add them to your list, find out where they work. You can reach out to them after interacting with their content that they post. Ask them, who do you know that works at X company, in order to get names and contacts, and then do research. Whether in Facebook, Google, anywhere, just start searching best niches to make 10K per month part-time, or top 10 companies to work for in the fitness space. Become a prospect. Think about all the ways that people could generate traffic. Ads, Facebook, YouTube, Google, creating content, Facebook groups, events, book funnels. Business owners are not paying to find you, they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to find their ideal client avatar. Instead of thinking like someone looking for a job, think like a prospect who's looking for information or help or outside coaching. If you can think like a prospect, then your dream company will pay money to find you. For example, if you're interested in FBA coaching, search Fulfillment by Amazon for Beginners, or Beginning Tips for FBA, Starting an Amazon Business, How to Make Money with FBA. Every A player will be running ads, so you can search on Google or YouTube, find their websites, their offer, their copy. If you scroll social media, then it's using you. If you search through it, then you're using it. Create a specific inbox where you can sign up for webinars, free training, email lists, and then take top people from the ads that you see, create a list, and reverse engineer that list using strategies in the next training. Now, too often, people look for the perfect message when it comes to outreach, when in reality, the perfect message does not exist. Use information and techniques from the other trainings to get an idea, but it's important to use critical thinking and, of course, your best judgments. If you're in the personal development space and all you know is Tony Robbins, then you have more than enough to begin. It's not, how do I get in touch with Tony? But instead, how can I connect with people in Tony Robbins' campaign? And what makes Tony attractive to me as a prospect? Thinking like the ideal client avatar. Another example, I wonder if there's any coaches in my niche who have done a TED Talk. Or I noticed this business owner is a best-selling author. I'll search for authors who are also doing well in the coaching space. I've noticed many coaches have a podcast. I'll start reaching out to podcast hosts. Research and outreaching is the simplest thing that most people overcomplicate. Start conversations like a normal person with people who you reach out to and interact with. If you were a detective, you wouldn't go to a crime scene and begin pointing fingers asking people, did you do it? Did you do it? As someone who is creating an abundance of opportunity through well thought out and strategic research, you won't want to just slide into people's inbox out of nowhere asking, are you hiring? Are you hiring? There's a lot of information that you need to pursue, knowing you might not go down the right path. It may be a dead end, so back up and ask yourself, what other clues are there and what else can we find? Gather information along the way and build relations with the people that you come across who can help you get closer to your goal. And how do you gather information? Now, if you're reaching out to a business owner, you can ask, hey, Name, I feel like I have a lot of people in my network that might benefit from something like this. Do you guys have salespeople I can pass this along to, or are you taking these calls yourself? Or, I know this is super random, out of the blue, but I have a question about X company. Are you still working there? Or, do you have a referral program? Do you want me to send them to you or someone on your sales team? This makes you seem less needy, not looking for a job, and like you're actually trying to help and connect them with someone. Or, I've got quite a few people in my network I think would be a great fit for your program. If they showed interest, is there someone I could send them to? This is not dishonest, because if it's somewhere that you'd want to work at, then there will be many other people that would also benefit from the program. I will connect them, and I do want to refer them. I'm simply just trying to find out what the process would look like, and therefore gathering information. Alright, so the goal of this training is to channel your focus towards creating a list of companies and business owners that we can reach out to. Starting with the simplest one, Google. Searching up lead generation companies, you can filter it USA, Canada, really anywhere. Let's go ahead and try that. Top lead generation companies, scrolling down here. I've actually clicked on this one, looked at it already. Open it up, 2025, they have an article. And then from here, you can see the business names, what they do, if it's an agency, software as a service, the features that they provide, and who it's ideal for. Really the most important part is finding their name on here. For example, if we wanted to search up Sales Loft, come in here, software company, find their website. You can go here to careers or scroll down to get demo, find their contact information, email, phone number, careers right here. Just like that, we found a way to directly get in contact with them, reach out, you can ask for information. Pretty self-explanatory, the Google searching method. Now for YouTube, similar, it's a search engine, exactly like Google is. You can search in here. I just did it a minute ago, but top dating coaches. Scrolling down. Let me go back because I actually found one. This guy, Justin Mark. He has a coaching program. Scroll down here. You can book a call. This is a quick consultation call. You can even hop in there and there's pitch your services to him there. You can scroll down, learn more about the guy, and maybe get more information on his contact information from here. Find testimonials if he has them. That is one way for YouTube. Another method is searching for successful case studies and testimonials. An example here is Jeremy Pogue. He is a business coach. He has a massive playlist here on other coaches that he's helped. This is a way you can not only find people to reach out to, but even get inspiration on a potential niche that you may have never even heard of. 15 to 73K. A little over 3 months. Or 4 months maybe. how Danielle tripled her online career. So then you know that Danielle is clearly someone that you can go reach out to, find her information, and get in contact. Another way, successful students on websites and testimonial pages from business coaches like here, Brenden Carter. He has on his page a section for testimonials where you can go find these people. Not only their video here, but even Facebook posts. So Nigel Walker, you can find him on Facebook. Coaching, got my first ever client. You want to be looking for people who maybe have a little better history, multiple clients, maybe a few 5-figure months like this guy. My student made $20K in a month. You can click here to learn about him, get his name, and then research into him, start outreaching. Again, here, Vince Del Monte, business coach. He has testimonials all over his website. Scroll down. Same exact concept. Moving on. Facebook groups. So sales Facebook groups find connections from posts and engage with the people that are liking and commenting. For example, this page right here, Sales Pipeline Pros, official high-ticket sales job board. You can scroll down. Bjorn, this guy right here, he's reputable, saying that they just placed a guy on an offer who made 42K in comms last month, and they're looking for someone else to place for an offer that has an on-target earnings of 6 to 10K. He would be a great guy to add, network, interact with his posts. Patrick, he's hiring another guy, and then you can even go into the comments section or look for people who are sharing wins, reach out to them using the same method. And then you can also even type in on Facebook, sales coach. So boom, sales coach. See what pops up. Instead of groups, which, okay, we are in all people. There we go. This guy, sales coach, you can add him. Start reaching out. Zach Brown, he's a recruiter. Great contact to have. You get the gist there. Christian Pope, he's good as well. Okay. Moving on now. Facebook ad library and Instagram ad library. So looking for successful ads in your niche or your industry. If a business is running ads and has been doing so, let's change this to the US and not search in Thailand. If they've been doing so for a while, you know they'd be successful. Boom, here you go. Brian Tracy, or Brian Tracy Publishing. Let's try this. They are running ads, 21, 23 January. You can go on here, reach out to this company, or maybe Bash and Slot is another example. Not running ads though, so then you know maybe, okay, not the greatest fit. For Instagram, you want to optimize the algorithm for your specific niche. So on Instagram, coming here, searching fitness coach, Charlie Johnson Fitness, world's #1 fitness coach. Perfect. Go ahead and give him a follow. Start getting the algorithm tailored in your favor to recommend people who you'd like to be working with. And then this drop-down list will come. If you didn't want to follow them, you can also just hit plus here. It'll bring that same list up. And then this will provide you with an abundance of other people to reach out to, start connecting with. This guy right here. You get the idea. And the next method is podcasts. So searching for creators, coaches, business owners who may have been featured on certain podcasts. You can come in here, type in maybe real estate investing, even coach at the end, see what happens. But anybody here who has a show that speaks about real estate investing, they would be a good person to connect with. You can find them on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, start outreaching again. Here's a hidden method that is definitely slept on, which I actually use for this specific person, Dan Loke. He's huge in the online sales space, high ticket closer. I scroll down to the bottom of the page and then under client support. This was a while ago I did this. What I did here was just reach out, put in my name, information, email, and then ask to jump on a quick call. And finally, find Creators.io. This is a bonus. Personally, I've not really used this very much, but I know it's a great resource. Sign up here, and you can search, filter in based on their niche, location, how many followers, their gender, audience. Great place to get some more ideas. All right, let's talk about my favorites of all the networking methods and platforms, LinkedIn. Facebook being a very close second. Now, it is severely underrated when it comes to searching, applying, and networking for jobs. Many people will be applying to the same job post, so we still do need to do what the other 99% aren't willing. This means we take the networking approach. So, if you find a job post on LinkedIn, find who posted it, select connect, and click add note. Send the following message, something saying along the lines, hey John, I see you posted looking for a closer or a setter. Do you have a link I could look at with some more details? Or, hey, I came across your job post for X role at X company. Have you found the person you're looking for, or are you still searching? If they say no or do not respond, Still apply to the job post and immediately after send them a message saying you completed the application. This will give you familiarity over the rest of the people who apply and are just random names on a screen. You're making an effort and humanizing yourself, making you memorable over all others who do not do this. A technique you can use is searching for keywords such as closer and then filter United States or wherever you would like, and then set alerts where now job alert was created. Every time there's a new job posting in this category, you will get an email, a notification. You can do the same thing here. High ticket sales, set alert on. High ticket closers and virtual event closers, 5 to 30K monthly. Remote closers, all warm inbound leads, 80 to 250K per year, all remote. These are all jobs, no cold calling, warm leads on your calendar every day, ability to make between 10 to 30K per month, working with top influencers in the high ticket space. Of course, you want to vet this offer, but apply, message, connect, reach out, and then say you find this company name. Okay, let's go to this one, AdBazaar, and take this a step further. So this is a company, they just had a job posting for between 5 to 30K per month, which is a crazy range to be honest, but let's roll with it. Go to people now in the company, and then start connecting with everyone working there, starting with maybe the coaches, the business managers, the salespeople, of course, people on the marketing team. Some of them will not allow you, some you need premium for, but most of them, like here, marketing growth, keynote speaker, you can follow, message, connect, reach out. Same here, another company, Sales Loft. Go to people, and now you have, again, an abundance of people which you can add to your list who are working currently at your dream companies, making your dream income, and now you're in direct contact with each one. All you have to do from here is reach out, network, put in a little bit of effort by interacting with them, and it's simply a matter of time before you're booking calls, landing interviews, and getting your dream offer. Let's just quickly go over the 4 best ways that you can land a job offer. With the first and worst way would be through traditional job posts on websites like Upwork, Indeed, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, online forums, any standard job board that you would come across. This is because they're easily accessible, highly competitive, and it is very difficult as a beginner who has no prior experience. Next would be recruiters, because they have the reach and the clients, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but they do work for the client, not you. They're getting paid to place you, but this does mean that the jobs are usually of a much higher standard. Third being referrals, which is the best way to land top tier offers because you're using pre-existing relationships and the trust that comes along with it. Though building these relationships does not happen overnight. After some time though, this will compound and reward you massively. And next is networking, which is the most consistent and controllable way of having access to the best opportunities. In order to do this, just talk to good sales reps and find out where you can add value. If you're not in the right rooms filled with high performers and they don't know you exist, then how do you expect to end up working with them? A company pays a recruiter to find, hire, manage, train, and place sales reps for a company. They're paid by the business owner, making it free for you, because when business owners are starting to scale, they don't want to have to spend their time on automating the sales team when they could just hire it out to somebody else. So if a recruiter who is being paid by these companies thinks that you're not what they're looking for, then they won't take a chance on you. An average job post has 350 applicants, so they raise demand in these recruitment pipelines through setting minimum standards that the business owner must meet in order to apply to work with the recruiter. For example, how much revenue they generated, their experience, where they're based. If you see a job post, however, I highly recommend you connect with the person making the job post, send them a friend request, say something like the following: "Hey John, came across this job post for this specific sales role. Have you found the person you're looking for? Are you still looking? If not, I think I can help with that. I feel like I'd be a good fit for this role," and give them a couple reasons on why, taking specific phrases and wording from the job post, and then ask them if they'd be open to scheduling an interview. If they say yes, that they have found the person they're looking for, no problem. Say, "Thanks for responding. I'm glad you found someone. Are there any other sales roles you're looking to fill this time? If not, no worries. I recognize turnover rate is pretty high. Even though you've already hired someone, is there a way I could be interviewed in order to prepare for the next opening?" This shows initiative. This will make you stand out among every other job applicant or candidate and massively increase the chances that you get hired or get a referral. And here's a list to the recruiters down below if you wanted to go and check that out. Now, there are 4 main to-dos when it comes to networking. First is setting a goal. Next is building a list of people. Then outreaching to that list of people. And, of course, setting up meetings. These are the 4 things required to get you to your desired output. This will create you more referrals, interviews, and opportunities than you'll know what to do with. This gives you choice, and most people will take a job offer out of desperation because they have no other option. But if we network properly, we should never have to go on another job hunt again. The number one source of new hires comes from referrals, relationships, and connections. Referrals come from connecting with employers and employees at a company, not from job posts, not from applications or sending in resumes. Some common networking mistakes I see are people rushing through and trying to skip the above steps. They go into default mode, hunting through job posts, Facebook groups, and applications. What I see is people not setting a goal or not having a goal that's clear, detailed, and committed. Goals give you direction and will pave your path very clearly. The paradox of this is that you get multiple options when you choose just a single path because your mind will subconsciously work towards achieving your goal as you do it. This will open you up to new opportunities and paths as you work towards them. The people who just say, I'm open to anything, I just want a job, I'll take whatever comes, are the same exact people who struggle and have little to no options, where the people who say, I want to work in e-commerce, I want to work in relationship coaching, or I want to sell lead generation to business owners working 30 hours per week, making $8,000 to $10,000 per month, are the same ones who have their options completely open for them as they start to pursue that path. Sometimes, of course, they deviate from the path that they originally intended, but because of the information they got and the relationships they built and people they met along the way, they now have multiple doors open for them. These doors do not open to the uncommitted. This certain group of people are thinking from a scarcity level mindset and hoping that if they're more available, they'll have more jobs come, but this simply is not the case. Similar to dating, if you think, I'll just marry anyone, then it probably won't work out very well. Having a clear goal will define more clearly where you're spending your time, where you're going, and which people you'll be connecting with. Many people are wishy-washy and give up if they don't achieve their goal in 3 days, 5 days, or a week. If you do not create your own goals, then they will be created for you, and the goals created for you will always be less than the goals that you want. Now, some people think, how can I add value as a beginner? All you need to do is support a goal or solve a problem. And if you can do both, that's great. If you can't do either, then be the person who connects the person with somebody who can. Accumulate names, information, and resources, then share them. Finding free resources is very simple. Don't say, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. Instead, say, who does know? How can I figure this out? Get creative, start thinking like a business owner and not like an employee. Now, the main reason people do not get responses in their outreach is not because what is said, but because what is not said. What do I mean by this? When you reach out to somebody, they're immediately thinking the following things. Who is this person? Why are they reaching out to me? What is their goal? What is their intention? They said this compliment to me, but why are they saying it? If you can answer these and eliminate mental friction, then you can merit a response. They'll understand why you're approaching, and it will help them to make a decision on whether or not to answer you back. Let's talk about types of outreach. There's inbound, cold, and warm. Inbound being people who reach out to you through content that you post, share, document, create. There's cold outreach when you message someone and there's no content there for you to interact with, or you just haven't interacted with it yet. And then warm outreach when you interact with their content and then message them. Most people do cold outreach because it's the easiest and requires little to no effort and much less thought. But when you engage in warm outreach, you stand out, and when people are posting content, there is no reason for a cold DM. The bar is very low, and this will set you apart. It can look something like comment on 2 of their posts, like 2 of their stories, and then 1 message in the DMs that's personalized, constructive. Now, for inbound content creation, just do things towards your goal. Talk about what you did, what you learned, and post it. People will like it, interact, reach out to those people, start productive conversation with them. For cold outreach, hey John, personalize a compliment. I'm really bought into your brand. I think what you're doing is helping people in a massive way. I just wanted to reach out and let you know that I've recently transitioned into closing full-time and I'm searching for a new role. If you happen to know anyone hiring or are searching yourself, let's jump on a quick call. I'd be happy to come in and contact all of your old dead leads for free and close them on 0% commission in order to prove what I'm able to do. No need to reply if you're busy. Much respect for what you're doing. Talk soon. Something like that. Or you can slide in their DMs with a compliment followed by a question. Hey John, personalized compliment. I'm looking to transition into high-ticket sales full-time, and I was wondering if I could ask you a question about this or that. And it could be about networking events or groups, referrals or introductions. Ask if they know anyone else in the industry. Ask about their goals, industry trends, or any shared interest or experience based on the research you do in their profile, old posts that they've made in the past. If you have anything in common here, this will be a great conversation starter. Some questions to ask about their experience. What inspired you to pursue this industry? What do you enjoy most about working in this industry? What do you find the most challenging? How do you see this evolving? Can you share any advice? What are some key things you've learned? Questions on their experience at a specific company. How did you find out about it? Can you tell me about the culture? What do you enjoy most about working there? Can you share any advice? Can you share any insights on the company's future plans on growth? Questions about their goals or aspirations. What are you hoping to get out of working there? What are your goals in the future? What do you see as the next step in your career? What are your long-term goals? What are some accomplishments you'd like to achieve in your career? Asking questions like these shows that you are putting in effort to your outreach and your research. People like to talk about things that they're interested in, and it feels good to share and provide value. It shows you aren't just like everyone else that is looking for a simple handout, and you're trying to gather and exchange information. For warm outreach, it can look like this, as simple as a friend request, comment, message, and then follow up. Give them value, react to posts, link an article that contributes to posts that they make, solve a problem that they talk about, support their goal, compliment their work, defend their teachings, offer a different perspective is a great one. GIF meme, not the greatest. Elaborate on what they're talking about, ask and answer their questions, tag or connect someone in the discussion, and then monkey branch off of other comments to add more value. Ask yourself before posting, is this a high effort comment? Avoid things like, I agree, awesome, nice, things of that nature. Alright, so you've been reaching out to your list, you're getting replies, and now it's time to set up networking meetings. The way you want to propose this is by simply asking, would you be open to jumping on a quick 15-minute chat? I'd love to see if I could provide value in any way. This lets them know that there is something in it for them. They're not just wasting their time completely with nothing to gain. At least you have the intention of providing some value. And if there's any particular way you think you can help based on the conversation that you've been having with them in the DMs, go ahead and highlight that here. Then follow it up by saying, let me know and I'll send over a link to my calendar where you can choose a time that's convenient for you. Make sure you have an account through Calendly set up so you are able to do that with time slots available in their time zone. And then you want to prepare for the call. In the first 2 to 3 minutes, all you want to do is express gratitude, highlight the connection that you have in common. Make small talk, set the frame. You can do so by saying something like this. Can you hear and see me okay? Yeah, I was going through your profile. I noticed before you were in sales, you were a plumber. What motivated you to make that transition? And then after some small talk, you want to ask permission to ask them some questions so you can get more information out of them. Hey, would you mind if I ask you a couple of questions before we get too far into things? They'll say, yeah, of course, no problem. And then you want to ask the following. The first two are interchangeable. You can really ask anything you would like to know. Here I have, what do you wish you knew when starting? What resources would you recommend I look into next? The two most important questions, though, that you must ask on these calls are, who else do you know that I can talk with about your experience in X industry? This will get you more context, more information. And then you want to ask, how can I help you? How can I provide you value? After doing so, wrap up the call, express gratitude for them taking their time. Make sure to keep it no more than 20 minutes, 15 ideally. And ask, if I have any other questions in the future, would it be all right if I reached back out to you? This will leave the door open, allowing for you to follow up with them later on down the road, not making it weird at all. It's important that you do not ask questions that you already should know. Do not ask about their past work history. Don't ask how you're connected. Don't ask any personal questions without a purpose. Don't ask for personal information about the company that they're working in. Show up 10 minutes before the call. Have a proper setup. Have an agenda and questions prepared on the screen. Keep track of their time, no more than 20 minutes, and do not forget to ask these final two questions. Here's some key performance indicators for you to track your progress and make sure that you stay on target. If you follow these, it is unreasonable that you do not land an offer within 30 to 60 days. Now, we spoke about this in a previous training, but of course you want to build a list, outreach to that list, set up meetings, and then follow up. First, creating your list. Do not overthink this, because the quicker the conversations that you have, the better. Choose 40 to 50 top companies or business owners that you would like to work with. Spend no more than 45 minutes per day on this list, and then begin reaching out to at least 10 of them per day. This is how the list will look as it begins to fill up. Here you will have their name, one of their social medias, another social media profile, whether or not you contacted them already, are they an active or dead lead, and the outreach method used. As you can see, there are 5 here, so if they haven't responded on the first 3, that just means try and try again. Whether or not they replied, and what day you have a call scheduled for. From here, you want to begin tracking these KPIs. I have it broken up into daily, weekly, and monthly goals and targets for you to be hitting. Here's that KPI tracker here. So 15 new conversations started per day, 10 new follow-up messages sent, 5 friend requests, 3 engaging comments, 1 piece of content posted, and 1 networking call proposed for weekly, 2 to 4 networking calls per week, 1 interview secured, a one-on-one call with me, a role play, as well as applying to 2 job posts. The reason I included job posts here, although you probably won't find your dream offer doing so, it will without a doubt give you experience applying, interviewing, and building a resume, figuring out what companies are looking for. For monthly, 12 to 15 networking calls booked, 5 to 7 interviews landed, and 3 job offers that we will then screen and vet together. From there, continue to schedule meetings, interviews, and follow up with prospects. Let's talk about intro videos. Now, the purpose of these is simply to build enough interest to book an interview. This will not get you the job. Think about it as selling the call, selling the interview, as opposed to selling yourself for the job to the interviewer, if that makes sense. They will be imagining you interacting with their clients, and the goal is to filter out the people who don't seem to be a good fit. It's normal to feel nervous, but try your best to relax, smile, and speak confidently. Do deep breaths if you need to. Box breathing has helped me. Push-ups even. And keep it brief. 60 seconds or less can be a little longer, but again, try to keep it brief. Unless, of course, they ask for a specific amount of time. Don't go into great detail, and don't give a detailed list of your experience unless it's specifically asked for. Think of it as just a 60-second highlight reel about yourself. So pick a few traits that are universally accepted as positive for the role that you're applying for, like coachability, discipline, persistence, likable, optimistic. Make sure to have good lighting and a good angle, mid-chest level, like how I am in this camera now. Be in a quiet place, dress well, stay still, and practice. Avoid using words like like, and do not use a script. You cannot sound robotic in this video, and if you use a script, you will. This is why rehearsing is important. And practice as many times as you need so you sound as human and as natural as possible. Pick 3 traits, introduce yourself, and just say that you're looking forward to the call. Here's a quick example. Hey John, it's Brenden here. Just wanted to send you this quick video to introduce myself before we jump on a call. I've been in high-ticket sales for 2 years with experience mainly in B2C, one-call closing. A key quality about myself is that I'm extremely optimistic, which when paired with my discipline and coachability, I'm confident I will become a top performer in your company. I never do anything half-assed, and I do not accept average results. If you're looking for someone who is a fast learner, reliable, and always going the extra mile, I'd love to discuss this opportunity further. Thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to speaking with you. Maybe don't copy that word for word. If you have any questions or would like help scripting out one of these so you can practice it, feel free to reach out to me. That's all for this training. Catch you in the next one. There should be 4 main parts of every Loom video. The introduction, where you greet the business owner, the company, by their name. And these are for specific Looms when targeting your outreach or applying to specific jobs. You'll state your name and location and add just one short interest. It's important that you start the call with good energy, maybe do some jumping jacks before, bright smile as soon as the video starts, because they're really only watching the first 10 seconds and then gauging everything off of there. Most of these business owners don't even watch until the end. They want to make sure you have a decent camera setup and confident on camera. So in order to do that, add energy, state your name, your location, and then just a quick pre-frame of what they can expect and why you're making the video. And you're really just selling the interview. You don't need to go into too much detail about yourself, your background. For example, just high level, not your life story. Anything that relates to remote high ticket sales, speaking with people, and touch on it very briefly. Over the past 3 years, I've been in SaaS sales, generated $2 million in revenue across B2B clients, veteran in the Army. I'll take that same work ethic and discipline and apply it to your company. I'm coachable. If you don't have any experience, that is really no issue. They aren't looking for specialized experts. They're looking for your ability, again, to speak on camera, your likability, dependability, coachability, your energy and communication skills. Briefly touch on the relation to the offer, show why you're the best fit for them specifically. You can use any of these 3 angles. Personal connection to their prospects, third-party connection, any family friends you've seen struggle with similar problems, or connection to the founder or the vision of the company, which you can easily find by doing 10 minutes of research. If there's no relation to the offer, or it's just an agency or recruiter, then you can simply emphasize your adaptability. I've sold across as many industries and can adapt to different client avatars quickly. Here's a quick example. Highlight that you're process-orientated, not just an industry fit. They want reps who can plug into any system because they have access to multiple different companies and multiple different niches and industries. Touch on your last role, any specific numbers. If you've never had a role before, no problem. Touch on your past life experience. Show that you're a low risk and high upside for them because they're getting paid by these business owners. Here are some other examples of lines that you can use down below. And then end with a quick call to action with confidence and expecting that interview, basically, that we're selling there in the beginning. Thanks for watching, John. I'm available this week after 5. Looking forward to connecting and joining the team and speaking with you, something along those lines. Really 60 seconds you want to aim for, 90 seconds max, never over 2 minutes. Confidence is better than perfection and getting the words right and scripting out something and sounding like a robot and reading off of a script. You do not want to sound like you're doing that. They buy conviction. Wear a clean shirt, clean background, good lighting, camera on your face, only about shoulder level height. If you don't have a nice looking background, that's perfectly fine. A simple blank wall will work perfectly because then they're forced to only pay attention to you, what you're saying, and judge you, not any background or messy bedroom. Most people think that they are better at interviewing than they are, and most people also think that interviews are just a question and answer period, which cannot be further from the truth. Giving good answers and the interviewer being nice is not the way to judge a good or bad interview. If you want to gain the ability to get job offers for opportunities well above your skill level, then you need to understand the deeper psychology behind interviews. An interview is a human interaction, and just like sales, a lot happens at the subconscious level, so the first 3 seconds mean everything. Below the surface level, the interviewer is looking for 3 main things: capability, reliability, and likability. Are you capable of doing the job well? Will you do the job well? And do they even want you to do the job? Notice how I didn't say experience, because they don't care. It will help if you think of an interview as a sales process. If you're able to sell yourself in an interview, it makes it easy for them to visualize and imagine you selling their service and representing their company. Slow down. I used to struggle with this massively. The biggest difference between a top performer and new people is that new people answer quickly and speak fast. Always be thinking that calm equals confidence and confidence equals trust. This training that I'm recording now, I'm speaking much faster than I would on an interview or on a sales call, but that's just because there's a lot of material to go through, and you can rewind this. If you get asked a question that you've prepared for 100 times and know the answer exactly to a T, don't get visibly excited. If you don't know the answer, don't get visibly flustered. If you think you're going too slow, go slower. So much communication is in our body language. Let's talk about your energy. You are a calculated professional who is going to make a company millions of dollars. It will be either their company, if they're lucky, or it'll be the next one. This is not cocky or arrogant. This is quiet confidence. Remember to be human. Don't be just another applicant or job searcher. It's easy to say no to an applicant, but more difficult to say no to a human. Have engaging conversations and look for opportunities to connect on a deeper, more personal level. Be memorable. Tell stories and not facts. You're not answering the questions. You're leveraging the questions that they ask to read between the lines and answer what they're really asking you. Things like, why should we hire you over everyone else? Can we trust you? Can you fit on this team? Can you actually sell? Will our clients like you? Again, are you capable, reliable, and likable? These are all the questions you might not directly be asked, but they're thinking it, so highlight the character traits you have that fit into these questions with stories that give examples. The questions you're most confident in and know you have a great answer prepared for, take your time and stretch them out. Tell your interviewer, that's a great question, then contemplate it for a moment and crush it. Then follow up with, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure if that answered the question or not. And then, again, like a sales call, you want to try and uncover any objections. So right before ending the interview, that can look like this. The interviewer asks, do you have any other questions for me before we end this call here? And you say, yeah, is there anything we spoke about today that makes you feel I wouldn't be the right fit for this position? From here, you can uncover and overcome any doubts they might have, for example, time zone issues or your availability. Going into interviews, you must come off as calm and confident. These are massively important traits, and most are naturally drawn to these types of people. You may have come across someone in the past with these same traits and then subconsciously tried to impress that person. Now imagine if in interviews, the interviewer was subconsciously trying to impress you. Confidence is one of the things that I see many students struggle with. So how can you access this confidence on demand? We can't always be confident that we'll get the role, even though we should be. Now, in order to get the job, though, you need confidence, and in order to get that confidence, you kind of need to land your first job. The problem here is in our desire for external confidence, meaning that your confidence is tied to external circumstances or results that just have not happened yet. These things are outside of your control, which can make you vulnerable and in a negative state of mind. You need to make a proper adjustment to make sure you have access to this confidence whenever you need it. To do this, we must shift this feeling internally. You don't need to be confident that you're going to get the job or even confident that you're the best candidate, because how can you be? What you do need to be confident about, however, is that you will be successful no matter the outcome of the interview. You should be confident in your preparation, in your research, and in your ability to figure it out no matter what happens. Nobody cares about where your confidence comes from. You can even make a list of things that you're confident about and keep it nearby every time you drift into uncertainty or need a boost, maybe right before these interviews. The next is conviction. The key to using conviction is similar to how you use your volume when speaking. If I were to start yelling right now, I would without a doubt get your attention. But if I was always yelling, then it would lose its edge. When the timing is right, we want to use this, specifically when you're looking to transfer belief and especially when there might be doubt. Let's say you lack experience, which will probably come up at some point in the conversation. then this is the perfect time to use conviction. If your conviction outweighs their doubt, then the stronger emotion typically wins. So how could your biggest weakness be positioned as your biggest strength? If I was asked about my experience or lack of it, I might say something like this. Well, I can tell you right now that you might come across and even interview a candidate out there who's got more experience than I do. But you will not interview someone who has the same commitment and level of dedication that I have. If you're looking for someone that has 10 years experience, who's going to demand more and work less, then that's not me. I'm simply here to perform, listen, take action, and get better every single day. I am an investment for any company who wants to win both short and long term. Conviction and confidence. Sell them on yourself. This can massively help with an interviewer's doubts. Now let's talk about identity. Is the interviewer going to hire the words that you say, or are they going to hire you? Of course, they're going to hire you. Many people suffer from identity debt and think that they need to get first in order to then become, when that is simply not the case. You first need to adopt the mindset and actions of the person that you want to be before you actually become that person. Imagine yourself getting hired and closing your first deal. Put yourself in the shoes of a top performer. You have the ability to change your ability whenever you want. If the job calls for a different identity, then become that guy, the person you think that would get hired. Become the person you think other people would want to work with and be around. You'll be seen as the person you identify as. Think about this. When we get lost in the moment, it's easy to overinflate the importance of any one event. Think back on your life when you thought it was the end of the world in any specific situation, and clearly it wasn't, because if it was, you would not be here now watching this. Now, instead of letting that happen again, you need to find the insignificance in every situation. Do you really think that on your 80th birthday, you'll be looking back and reflecting on one interview that you didn't do well on? Of course not. We need to confidently understand that no matter what, you will be successful, no matter the outcome of any individual event, and definitely any interview. Interview research is one of the most underrated skills, and let me tell you why. To give yourself the best chance for success, you should be committed to extremely over-preparing for your interviews. Most people don't prepare at all, and if they do, they barely try, which provides us with a golden opportunity. We may be going into the interview as not the most talented or experienced person, but we need to focus on what we control. And what we can control is going into every single interview as the most prepared candidate. Each opportunity is different, which gives us a huge advantage over the general salesperson who just comes prepared for the usual generic interview. I like to start with Google and their website and then dive deeper after that. Look for core values of the company and pay attention to any language used in the marketing. Look for their vision, mission, and values, which will oftentimes look like keyword in the text. From their website, then go to their socials to see if you can learn anything about the company. Then go to their staff, starting with the owner. Try to uncover any valuable information, and the owner is usually the one who instills most of the values into the company. From there, check their LinkedIn profile, look for articles, podcasts that they might have been featured on, reviews, success stories. Then, look for salespeople, because they're the ones who have already cracked the code, and reach out to them for a quick 10-minute call. If you've done your networking correctly, then you should already be connected to them, or at the minimum, connected to a mutual friend, so 1 degree away. And if not, look for clues as to what type of person they are and how they may have gotten hired. Put yourself into the shoes of the one who is hiring. What would I be looking for? What would I hire for? What would I be worried or concerned about? And you know that in the interview, they will ask you questions on your experience, about yourself, why you're looking for this job. So have a versatile story ready that you can nail every single answer with. We'll go more into depth on commonly asked questions and how to prepare for those in another training. Some common interview questions and answers. Now, it's not usually the person who has the most skills who gets the job. It is, however, the one who's the most prepared to communicate their ability to meet the job's requirements. So if you prepared correctly, then we should have information about the position, the company, the interviewer, the hiring manager, the marketing, and other salespeople, success stories. So we should have a sense already of what they're looking for and what they're looking to avoid. Now remember, the interviewer is always thinking about these 3 things. Can you do the job? Your capability. Will you do the job? Your reliability. And do I want you to do this job if you're likable? And now that we have these as the foundational base, every answer that we give should revolve around answering these 3 questions in some way. The most common interview question in history, the one that most people screw up, is, can you tell me a little about yourself? Now, when answering this, you'll aim to sound personal, but you'll be keeping it about 80% professional, and here's how you'll respond. Well, I'm originally from Orlando, Florida, and I grew up in a household where my dad was a teacher, my mom worked as a high-level manager. When the people you most look up to have high standards of you, then I guess you tend to adapt quickly, which I did. During my upbringing, I was always taught a few things. Work harder than the next person, take accountability for everything because all results are on you, and serve others. If you do that, you can have anything you want in this world, and I've found that to be completely true throughout my teenage years and my early 20s. Throughout my life, I've developed an interesting level of communication with others and a well-developed understanding of humans and how they work, especially in my early 20s where I fell in love with business, personal development, and especially the sales development arena. Since then, I've narrowed my focus on what makes most people make decisions so that I can ultimately help people overcome their limiting beliefs to get them to where they want to go in life. This question is a golden opportunity to tell a story that establishes yourself and gives off an amazing first impression. Always find a way to shift personal to professional in an impactful way. Next, as you can imagine, they're probably going to ask you something along the lines of your strengths and weaknesses, and this is where preparation comes into play. You should pick the strengths that best align with the company's or person's values. If they ask for just one strength, try to include a story or an example to make it more impactful. Always think back to being capable, reliable, and likable. When answering, you can say something along the lines of, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to combine two strengths together because I think if you have one without the other, then your potential is limited. And honestly, I think my greatest strength is a combination of empathy and drive. The reason why I say that is if you're only driven, you'll isolate yourself and you won't be part of the team and you won't make the people around you better. If you're only empathetic, then you'll lose your competitive edge and you'll get walked all over. You're too nice. That's why over the years, I've developed a principle of service-based growth, meaning every time I want something, I think of it as I need to serve more people or the right people to get what I want. This allows me to always stay driven and focused on performance while being detached from my own selfish desires. I hope that answers your question. And if they ask what are your top 3 strengths, then this is a great opportunity, again, to tick all 3 of those foundational questions of capability, reliability, and likability. Don't just stop at a single trait, give a description, example, or a story for each one. For example, I think number 1 would be resilience. I'm not often affected by setbacks or undesirable results. I leverage that data to push myself to get better. Second, I'd probably say communication. This to me is probably the most important skill set in what we do, not just in sales, but in life. I put a lot of time and effort into making sure that I'm not only able to proactively communicate information, but also able to actively listen and receive information so I can pick up on things that other people might miss. And I guess for my third, I'd say maybe discipline. For me, I've always prided myself as the get things done guy. When others won't show up, I will. In my first ever sales role, there was a team of 6 setters that started out, and I was the only one left. I showed up when no one else would. Doing the work when you don't want to is when it matters, and I know that I'm going to show up and perform regardless of how I feel that day. And now let's talk about weaknesses. No more I work too hard or I'm a perfectionist. This is a test, so let's pass it with flying colors. Like we said earlier, we're trying to be likable, and self-awareness equals likability. Everyone has flaws and weaknesses. They're just testing your awareness and your honesty with this question. Avoid all and any key areas, keywords, core values, or anything that you think would prevent you from being successful in this position. Just simply choose an area you're actively focused on developing and share what you're doing to improve. Example, leadership skills. I've always been focused on my own performance and developing my own skills. I sometimes lack the ability to teach others exactly how to do what I do. And I'm doing XYZ to improve here, like reading or listening to podcasts, because this is something I really want to develop over the next year, but I feel I always could be doing something more. It's okay to highlight a weakness, but then pair it with what you're doing to improve. Next, they'll probably ask about your experience. And again, every question is an opportunity. Remember that this is an opportunity for you to showcase yourself and facilitate the best answer to the interviewer. A lot of times this question is lost in the mindset of the rep being interviewed, but the key is to be detached from any individual outcome. If they need someone with 10 years of experience and that's all they value and you don't have it, then so be it. Just sell them on what you do have. Just like sales, you cannot force someone to say yes to you, but in an interview, you can make it very difficult for someone to say no to you. So the key here is, the more experience you have, the more factually you should answer and the more detailed your answer should be. Highlight the things like revenue generated, whether you're a top performer. For example, over my 10 years sales career, I've generated X dollars in revenue and I've always been in the top 3 salespeople in every organization I've worked in. Or I've been in sales the last 2 years, and after speaking with a mentor, early on I decided to pick a high volume outbound position to start where I gained experience on how to deal with rejection, think on my feet, properly qualify leads, and how to turn those leads into paying clients. Now, we're not positioning this as a deficit, but like it was always part of the plan. This was the journey that you set out to accomplish, and you're on your way to accomplishing it right now. If you're limited on experience, that is fine, just go into story mode. Even though they're asking you for experience, really deep down what they're asking is, are you capable? So in this position, you'll want to go less detailed and more of a highlight reel aspect. Focus on transferable skills and experience. Regardless of your experience, the key is to communicate to them that you know what sales is at its core. Sales is communication plus influence. Do not get too lost in the details that are not applicable, and don't be afraid to address the elephant in the room. For example, I'll be the first to tell you that if you're looking for a rep that has 20 years experience and wants a comfortable place to work, that is not me. But if you're looking for someone with the drive, the discipline, and who has been developing their communication and influence skills for years, then I'm prepared to become your top performer. Every role I've ever been in, I've always gone above and beyond to exceed all expectations that were put on me. I may not have the most impressive resume out of all the candidates, but I've been preparing for this for a very, very long time. My plan is to model top performers in the company and add my relentless work ethic to climb the leaderboard quickly. I want to leave it all on the table. If I cannot give experience, then I'm going to give them logic and the feeling of capability so I can be perceived as someone with sheer will who gets things done. Next, they will likely ask you about your career goals. And this is because employers want to know whether you're ambitious and committed to sticking around to them to give them results, or if you'll be off looking for another position soon after they've spent the time hiring you, onboarding, and training you. If you say something like, I'm excited to work here so I can save up some cash and move to another country so I can start my own business, they will not hire you. They want you to be devoted to them. So how I would answer this question is, well, to be honest, I haven't thought too much about a career just yet. I just know that I want to be the best salesperson of all time. And in order to do that, I need a job that brings in reliable commissions. I need to get really, really good at it. And I want to make money with you and get rich along the way so I can look after my family or whatever the reason is. And maybe I can work my way up and in the future build out a team of guys for you who are closing just like me. This will show you're sticking around, dedicated to them, committed, and that will close the interviewer. Next question, what are your expectations around earnings? This gets people confused because it is a bit of a challenging question. Here is how I respond. That's a challenging question. The way I think about it is I don't really expect earnings because this is a performance-based industry, so I know my earnings will be reflective on my performance. So what I am looking for is a company that has high standards, and every individual's performance is affected by the team. So if I know the marketing is great, the fulfillment is top-notch along with a proven sales process, then I am confident I can perform and work towards 6 figures. And the last question, which is arguably the most important one, do you have any questions for me? Now this is the biggest difference between new reps and veterans. Veterans will take this opportunity and new reps are often scared to screw it up. Now here's what I would say. I want to be respectful of your schedule. Do we have enough time for me to ask a few questions? If they're rushed, you can ask, okay, is it okay just to then ask a couple of the most important questions and send you anything else that I would need to consider? And I'd like to use some of the questions as just more evidence that I'm a top performer, and then some to qualify if this is the right business and offer for me. For example, how much do I need to sell to become your top performer? Can I generate my own leads? What targets are we looking to hit as a company? What would you say are some of the keys to success within the first 90 days of this role? How many people are currently in this position? I'm pretty competitive. Do you have a leaderboard that shows team stats? Who was the top of the leaderboard last month and how much revenue did they generate? How does the top performer compare to the average person on the team? What would you say are some of the roadblocks that would prevent someone from onboarding and being successful in this role? What was the total revenue generated last month? What is your onboarding process like? When do you think you'll be making a decision? And assuming I'm successful, when do you think I can get on sales calls? And finally, the question you should always ask at the end is there anything we spoke about today that concerns you about my ability to excel in this role? They'll let you know any questions or concerns that they have, and you can address them right there at the end of the interview, just as if it was the end of a sales call and somebody gave you an objection. And now to end the interview, thank them. I really want to appreciate your consideration for this role and speaking with me today. If you need anything else from me or think of any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The key to a great interview is finding commonalities between who you are and what you can do and what the company needs and desires. And now I'm challenging you to develop answers to these most commonly asked questions, because the interview is one in the preparation. Let's run through an overview of objections. Now, an objection is simply a concern or a reason that the buyer gives for not purchasing, which is normally triggered by resistance, which is usually caused by the salesperson if they're untrained. They've been creating the resistance and carrying it through the entire conversation, and after the pitch, the prospect naturally gets defensive, which is why it is crucial to nail the fact-finding phase or the beginning part of the call in a way that makes you seen as a leader and as an advisor, not as some pushy salesperson. This is done by asking strategic questions in order to find out your prospect's current situation, their goals, challenges, and any potential obstacles that may be holding them back from starting. The sale is made in this fact-finding phase, and if done properly, once you master the front end of the sales process, then you should really not be getting many objections at all other than logistical ones, which we will talk about. Objections are an extremely normal part of the sales process. They will come no matter how good you are. And if you understand that and look forward to them and prepare for them, then you will beat 99% of sales reps who do not. Objection prevention, of course, is better than objection handling, and be certain your confidence must overcome their doubts. Do not take objections personally, and understanding that even if you do everything right, you will still get hit with them. When you have that mindset shift, your language will change, because if you're seen as pissed off, you will be seen as pissed off. But if you're displaying that you're being helpful, then you'll be seen as being helpful. Change the language that you use in order to help you enter into the inevitable objection handling process. Think in your head
and give off in your tonality, I'm concerned about you and I want to help you out with XYZ. For example, if the prospect says it's too expensive, reply with, that's not a problem, just to see if I can help you out, and be thinking in the back of your head, because I'm concerned, which your tonality will give off if you are thinking this way, because that could mean a few different things. What do you mean exactly? Is it that you don't have the investment, or is it just a bit of uncertainty around the investment or the program itself? Define objections as limiting beliefs, not as reasons. And there are really only 6 objections that exist, being value, trust, time, money, partner, and then we can combine fear and uncertainty into one, which can all be broken down into 2 categories, being logistical, that they simply cannot make it work, they don't have enough time, not enough money, or they don't see the value, and then fear, which is them being nervous about dropping money over the phone and investing into themselves, which for most people you speak with will be their first time doing so. The first 3, value, trust, and time, should all be handled prior to objection handling through a proper discovery, leaving you with the big 3 objections being fear, financial, and support. So partner, money, and uncertainty. First one is them being less than 100% certain that this is the right thing or now is the right time. For example, think about it. I got to sleep on it, too risky. I want to wait one more month because of whatever reason. There's financial, which can be broken up into logistical and conditional. For example, they want to do it, but you'll need to work out the logistics for them, being payment plans, credit cards, or conditional, where they cannot afford it, they have no access to credit. And whenever someone says it's too expensive, it's usually an uncertainty based objection, not always a financial one. Because if they were certain that this investment of $3,000 would get them $10,000 back, then they would find the $3,000. If you offer someone a Lamborghini for 5K, they're going to find the 5K to buy it. So it's really about building up and showing them the value by asking questions to understand what they're looking for in a program, and then tailoring your pitch to align with their goals. And then there's a partner objection, where they might either say one of 2 things: that they have made the decision, they just want to let their partner know before investing, or they need their permission to make the decision, or to know if it's the right decision for them to make. You address uncertainty first every single time by pacing their first objection, which we'll cover in a later training. From there, you will always start with money, then partner, and then back to fear. Think about it is not a real objection, and you should never end a call on a think about it objection. Nobody needs to think about anything. You don't need more time. You simply need more information. Not to go into these a little further, time is where it's simply not the right time for them, but they're completely bought in. So in which case you can collect a deposit from them. And the way to overcome this and pre-handle during the discovery is by simply asking, do you have 5 hours a week to commit towards this, towards achieving your goal of 10K per month? Yes, okay, no more timing objection, or why is this a priority for you now? What if you didn't get the help you needed and say it's stuck for another 6 months? Questions like these. Or do you see how not getting this help 6 months ago has left you stuck in the same place looking for a solution? Then there's money, logistical, where they do not have the money and you can put them on a financing option. Or it's money and fear, which is a smokescreen we'll talk about more later. There's partner again, where they're not the decision maker and they need permission, or they are the decision maker, which then means it is a smokescreen objection, because if they do not need permission, then they do not need to go speak with their partner, which we'll talk about how to uncover again later on in a different training. Then the fear objection is when it is the right thing for them. They have the money, they like what you do, but there's something internal that's holding them back. Very important to be careful with your tonality. Remain calm, neutral, grounded, centered. You are the unmovable force, the oak tree, and expect that you will get objections, but you'll close them anyway, as opposed to this will be easy and objectionless. Look forward to the objection handling process. I like to physically sit back in my chair so I don't come off as confrontational. Speak very slowly, because speaking fast will put the prospects into a fight or flight and trigger more sales resistance. And any visible frustration, anger, anxiousness, or sporadic behavior will lose you sales. If you can reference what they told you earlier in the call, for example, you told me you want to make 10K per month so you can retire your parents, spend more time with your kids, travel, get that feeling of fulfillment that you've always been looking for. If you can use their own language to hold them accountable to their highest self, you will beat the salesperson who does not. Your questions and your objection handling will hit 10 times harder if you're using their own language against them. And the best way to overcome objections is by preventing them, which you can do during the discovery phase. But if not, then the next best way is through a temperature check. And try coming from the same side as the prospect. So it's not you against me, it's us against the issue of your finances, which we will overcome together, or us against your partner, or us against your fear, your uncertainty, and then overcome it as a team. If you remove uncertainty before the price drop by using a temperature check, then you'll remove uncertainty-based objections, only leaving room for the logistical ones. And here's how you would do a temp check. So right before the price drop, after the pitch, you will ask, okay, let's take a step back. I know I covered a lot. Can I ask you, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being, you feel this is something that could potentially help you get to your goal of making 10K per month, and 1 being, I wish I never jumped on this call. Where do you feel you fall exactly? Maybe 7, 6, 7, 8. Can I ask why not a 10? Okay, and why not a 10? This will more likely than not uncover the real objection before you get to the price. And from there, you can handle the objection before you price drop, because the longer the objection handling process goes on for, the less likely they are to buy. So if you can handle most of them before the price drop and before the end of the call, the better. From there, you'll transition into the price by letting them think it's their decision, and you do so asking this question, so where would you like to take things from here? Would you like to go over pricing? They will, of course, say yes. Okay, I want to see it. And then this is a visual representation of how the objection handling process will go. 9 out of 10 times, you drop the price, paste the first objection, and tie down uncertainty. Then you will normally get an uncertainty-based objection, which you can tie back to either financial or partner. And almost every objection is a financial objection at the end of the day, because if this was free, they would do it. That doesn't mean they would have success, because if it's free, they will not see the value, they will not commit their time and energy towards it. But if it was free, they would say yes.
There are two buckets of objections. Bucket A being most of them, which is a smokescreen, for example. Think about it, partner, need to speak to my accountants, which is basically partner objection. Or bucket B being a real objection. Maybe money, time, value, logistical. And all good objection handling is basically just overcoming the right objection without pissing people off before you do so. And most people mistake smokescreen objections for real objections. Those being, like I said, think about it, need to do it next month, I need more time. All things that are said without an underlying reason or concern. For example, let's say someone asks me to go out and I'm shy or I don't want to. I'll most likely just say something like, oh, let me think about it. I'll do something next week. I'll let you know. The reason why is because they don't want to offend you and they would like to just avoid what they consider to be a difficult conversation. And most salespeople will take this think about it objection and then try overcoming it, but thinking about it is not a real objection. It's a smokescreen, and you are not a normal salesperson. So if someone is fearful to spend money, you still might get a think about it objection. This is your job then to find the underlying objection of someone so you are able to have the same conversation as them and then help them overcome it. You'll be pulled into one of these three directions: money, time, or value. And each one of these have two different categories. Logistics being they simply cannot make it work, not enough time, they literally do not have enough money, or they simply do not see the value, and in which case you will not be selling them anything if they don't see the value in what you have to offer. Or fear, which is them just being nervous about dropping money over the phone and investing into themselves, which for 99% of the people that you speak with will be their first time doing so, investing into themselves. Now, how do you determine which one of these it is? You do so by asking the correct questions and following the proven process for objection handling in the following lessons that I'm about to show you. Let's talk about the belief ladder. Now, there are 7 beliefs your prospect must hold to buy, and every objection maps back to one or more of these beliefs. Mastering this belief ladder will allow you to never feel lost in your process and will get the prospect to closing themselves. These 7 beliefs are pain, doubt, cost, desire, money, support, and trust. Now, for pain, the prospect must believe that they have a problem which is keeping them from getting what they want. If there is no problem, there is no sale, because business is about solving problems. This pain can also be thought of as the gap between current and desired situation. This is especially helpful to understand because sometimes the prospect is unaware that they even have a problem in the first place, so we want to first establish what they want and then what's keeping them from getting it. This is known as goals first syntax, which we'll touch on later on. Now, if the problem is not elicited, they will not see the value or need for the investment because they won't understand how you can help them. You cannot explain how you can help someone if you do not know the problem or have the gap. They will also not see you as a trusted authority who then can lead them to fix the problem, which means they will not buy from you. Next is doubt, and the prospect must believe that they cannot fix this problem on their own, or that attempting to do so would waste unnecessary resources given the other avenues available to them, being your offer. Let's talk about the buying pocket for a second. Now, the buying pocket is a place where the prospect believes that their transformation is possible, but only with your help. And this is important because we know what people buy, but this is why they will buy from you specifically. This helps us understand where we need to nudge the prospects. For example, if they're on the left side, they don't believe it's possible at all, so you can use stories, case studies, or proof. If they're on the right side, then they believe that they can just do it all on their own. So you need to create doubt through asking skilled questions and reframes. Doubt eliminates the DIY or the ego objection, and sometimes doubt is already there. Sometimes you do have to build it, but do not make the mistake in trying to create doubt when it already exists. Next is cost. So the prospect must believe that doing nothing is far more painful than the investment in time and money to fix this problem. This will eliminate time objections and creates urgency. The current and future pain of doing nothing has to be far greater than the pain of time and money into your offer for the prospect to want to take action. For desire, the prospect must believe that solving the problem or bridging the gap would yield a better future situation or heaven island, and typically we want to know what they want, why they want what they want, and then attach a number assigned to what it is that they want, and how getting what they want would impact another area of their life, which is widening the gap. Next is money, which is the belief that the prospect has the resources and the willingness to solve the problem. If they don't have the resources, that's a condition, not an objection, which we can solve with the open wallet test, which is in the objection handling training. Now, if they don't have the willingness, then that goes back to there not being enough cost. And barring extreme situations, it's often best to leave this belief to the very end, because more often than not, if I get the other 6 beliefs and leave this to the end, I will close if they actually have the money through a payment plan or financing option. Next is support, which is the belief that the people around them, like their spouse, their partner, will support them in fixing the problem, which prevents spouse and partner objections. There's also trust. So do they see your solution as clearly different, unique, or superior than similar methods that they've tried in the past? This will eliminate the I've been burned in the past before objection and help them logically tell themselves why this is going to be different. You have to get them bought in onto your method of what success actually looks like, because there are 2 sales. There's a sale made on the method of success and then the sale made on the product. For example, ClickFunnels says the key to online business success is creating profitable and scalable funnels, and the only way to do that is through ClickFunnels. The buy-in on the method is in your pitch, and we'll cover that in the pitch training. Now, how do we build these beliefs? We do so using Socratic dialogue. Think of these beliefs like a checklist. If we check these boxes before we transition into the close, the chances of them buying dramatically increases. And we'll talk about more about this during the how to take notes section and the discovery part of the call. And for this instance, we'll just define Socratic dialogue as the process of asking skilled questions to help the prospect come to the conclusion that you want them to, as if it was their own idea. And consistency bias is what makes Socratic dialogue so powerful. Now, when you get the prospect expressing that they hold the above 7 beliefs, not only are they telling you those things, more importantly, they're telling themselves. This is important because our highest driver of human behavior is to be and or appear consistent. In Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, he talks a bit more about this. So when you use Socratic dialogue, though, in conjunction with the belief ladder, it'll simply feel incongruent for the prospect not to move forward at the end. And this is how you create an objectionless close. It is important to understand that if you look at most great closers, while they certainly can handle objections, most of their closes are either objectionless or a matter of merely just handling logistics, like finding the right payment plan that works or figuring out the right timing. The reason for this is because they're doing everything before the close the right way, like we're talking about here. Now let's talk about pacing the first objection, and that is simply language pattern framework that we always use after we get the initial objection. The purpose is to tie down the prospect's certainty on the process before moving into finances or partner objections, because you cannot handle those until the prospect is certain on this and now. This will not fix a bad discovery or information gathering phase, but how that will look is you drop the price, they say, I have to think about it, or I need to talk to my partner. You will say, what I like to do specifically, lean back in my chair, show I'm not being confrontational. Yeah, that's not a problem, I completely hear you. Or yeah, no worries. Avoid agreeing with their objection by saying things like, yeah, I get it, I understand. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Instead of that, say, okay, I hear you. It's not a problem. Next, you want to say, based on what we went through today, do you feel, important to say feel, do you feel like what we do here can get you to that goal you told me about earlier, can get you to that 10K per month? Yeah, I feel like it could. Well, why do you feel like it could? As soon as they say yes and they're confident, I don't even let them finish their sentence. I immediately say why, cutting them off and then having them justify themselves because they might go off onto a tangent. Now, if they don't sound too confident, for example, you say, based on what we covered today, do you feel like what we do here can get you to 10K per month? They say, I think it can. Then what you'll do is reply with, well, you don't seem too sure. Is there any reason why you feel this won't get you to 10K? Or, no, you don't seem too sure. You don't sound too confident there. And when we work with someone, we're really all in. So it's important to us that you are as well. I mean, is there any reason you feel this cannot get you to 10K per month? And they will always reply back, well, no, I don't feel like it. Well, no, I don't feel like there's any reason it cannot. And then you will say, okay, well, why do you feel like it can? And then again, they will justify you and sell themselves back on your product or service, which will then lead you into one of the next 2 options. So if they agree and they do sound certain, then you'll go for tie down number 2, which will sound like this. So just to be clear, you're not in a should I do this place where you're going back and forth deciding on if this is the best next step. It sounds like you're more in a how can I do this place, to where you're 100% certain that this is the quickest and most effective way to getting to 10K per month. It's just a matter of making it work financially. Or you can say, okay, so just to be clear, investment aside, there's nothing else that's keeping you from being less than 100% sure that this is what you need to get you to 10K per month. This gives you the double tie down on the process in order to isolate them on either partner or spouse, or they might bring up that there is a level of uncertainty somewhere. And if they are uncertain or they give you a service level response, then you can reply with, yeah, no worries, thanks for being honest and open about that. That's something I can appreciate. Now, can I be honest with you for a second?
And this is if you did the temp check earlier, where right before you drop the price, you ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about the process? Do you feel like this is something you can use to give you to 10K per month? That's being a 10, and a 1 is, I wish I never jumped on this call. And if you did get a good answer on that temp check, then you can fall back on this. Now, can I be honest with you for a second? You just got done telling me that you're a 8 out of 10 on the process because, the coaching, the community. And now it seems you're nowhere near that certain about the same process. So can you be honest with me? Like, what's really going on? And then they'll either give you the real objection, telling you why they are uncertain, or they'll then go back to money or partner, which is more likely than not at this point the real objection, if they're still reverting back to that, which you can help them overcome. Another option you could do is give them 3 choices here. That sounds something like this. Okay, no worries, man. Can I ask you an honest question? Anytime people feel less than 100% sure that this is the right thing, it's typically one of 3 things. That you aren't 100% sure the process will work for you, you don't trust me or the company, or you know that this will work and trust me. It's just a matter of making it work financially. And I mean, which of those do you feel like you're at? And then you try to uncover the real objection, whether it's fear, uncertainty, and then handle the proper objection using trainings in the other modules. And this is back to that double negative earlier that we talked about, where if they do sound unsure, you seem unsure, can I ask if there's anything about what I just showed you that makes you feel you cannot get to 10K per month? No, I mean, I guess there's nothing specifically. Okay, why do you feel like it can? And then they will double tie down and sell themselves. And that is how to pace the first objection every single time. This is how you'll handle the think about it objection, which is essentially someone just telling you that they have an objection. They just do not feel comfortable yet telling you exactly what it is, because nobody needs more time. They just need more information to make a decision, or more certainty. So when someone tells you, I just need to think about it, you'll say, yeah, of course, okay, that's not a problem. Before you do go and take some time to think it over, could I ask what's coming up for you that makes you want to think about it, just to see if I can help you. This will try to get their real objection. If they still say, yeah, I just want to take some time. Okay, I completely hear you. So would you say it's a case of uncertainty then around the investment, or is it that you just don't have the investment? I don't have the money. Okay, then now it's money and logistical. Try to get them over it. Or if they say, I do have the money, then okay, got it. Can I ask, what is the uncertainty about specifically? Is it about our offer? Is it yourself? Is it the company? Is it me? Help me understand. This will try to get them to reveal a fear objection, which we'll speak about later on. But if they do say, oh, I just don't want to think about it, you'll say, okay. It seems like there's some hesitation, and typically, when someone tells me they need to think about it, they're either 1, not interested, or 2, interested, just not sure. Which one of those 2 options best describes how you're feeling right now? The prospect is going to say interested and not sure, because if they say not interested, then okay, end of the call, doesn't matter, move on, burn the lead. But when they say, yeah, I'm interested, just not sure, then you can follow up by saying, okay, if the price was perfect and you had the investment in your hand, would you move forward? Of course, here they're going to say, well, yeah, I mean, if the price was perfect and I had the money in my hand, then yes, I would move forward. And you can move along to the money objection. Let's talk about financial objections. Now, this will be our method for handling any sort of objection that relates to money. And the purpose is to take responsibility of removing logistics so the prospect can do it, and to uncover the real objection, just in case finances were a smokescreen. It's important to follow this process and do not be so quick to just hand out payment plans to the first person who asks for it. And if at the end of this they don't tell you their cash on hand or their credit score, then there's more than likely a trust issue, unless you're just dealing with some massive corporate company, which in that case, then it's probably not a financial objection in the first place. But this is how it'll look for the money objection. And of course, step 1 will be isolating and uncovering their resources. So after you paste the first objection and tie them down, then you'll go into the objection handling, which looks like this. So finances and investment aside, there isn't anything else that's keeping you from being less than 100% sure that this is what you want to do? They'll say, of course not. And then you'll say, so in other words, you're not in a should I do this place to where you're uncertain of the program or if it's the right thing for you. It's more of a how can I do this to where it's your goal. It's just a matter of making it work financially. Exactly. Okay, well, look, I mean, most of our clients do take care of the investment up front, but for certain clients, I don't feel that's the best thing for them just based on their situation financially. So we allow them to break it up. That being said, since it's your goal to do this, do you want to explore ways we could potentially break it up to make this work for you? Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Great. So we don't actually have any set payment plans. It really is all customized depending on what's best for the client. So based on where you're at financially, it might be possible for us to make something work now, or at the very least, we can create a game plan for you to work towards in the future so you can do it sometime down the road. That said, are you comfortable with having an open and honest conversation about exactly where you're at financially right now? And based on that, we can figure out what's the best next step from here. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Cool. So what's your cash on hand exactly right now? And ideally, they tell you a number. then you'll create a payment plan for them, or just try to split it into two. But if they answer with anything other than an exact number, then you can say something along the lines of this: absolutely, and I appreciate you being honest with me about that. Just for sake of clarity, what is your cash on hand right now? And then really try to get a tangible number here. If they say anything that's too low, or they just say, I do not have any available resources, okay, gotcha. And of course, I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable spot or take food off your table. Do you happen to know your credit score, or have you considered putting it on a credit card and then just paying off the balance with the money you make after starting your business? And if this doesn't work, then it might be a smokescreen. So try to uncover the real objection, or just go for the deposit close, which we'll talk about in a later training.
Now here's how you're going to handle the partner objection. I need to speak to my wife, my accountant, whatever it may be, my ball and chain. Prospect says that to you, you say, yeah, that's not a problem. I have a partner myself, so I completely understand. Before you do go and chat with your partner, by the way, what's your partner's name? I feel weird calling them partner. You can say that, get a little more personal if you'd like. They'll say, yeah, Jesse. Okay, cool. Before you do go and chat with Jesse, do you genuinely feel like this can help you hit your goal? Because that is the most important part. Prospect says, yep. Okay, so is there any reason why Jesse wouldn't want you to be making 10K per month? No, I guess not. Okay, cool, and I'm curious. Does the investment fit within your budget, or would that be totally impossible for you at the moment, no matter what? Prospect says, no, I don't have the money. Okay, then handle the money objection in the training we just covered. If they say, yes, I do have the money, you'll reply with, okay, in that capacity, I suppose when you do go to your partner, what do you feel would be the potential obstacles that may stop you or them from moving forward with this? Try and uncover the real objection here, most likely being fear, which we'll cover later. But if the prospect doubles down, says, I don't know, then hit him with the responsibility. Close by saying, does your partner trust you? Prospect says, yes. Okay, whose responsibility is it, whether you actually get results or not? Is it you or your partner? Prospect says, me. Cool. And who's going to be the one going to the coaching calls and implementing the advice that we give you? Is it you or your partner? Yeah, me. Okay. Right. And the other side of this is when you are making 10K per month, in 8 months from now, how do you feel Jesse would be? She'd be over the moon when you're hitting your goal, right? So, you feel it's fair to put that decision-making responsibility on Jesse when in reality it's going to be your responsibility. Prospect says, I guess not. Okay, and why not? Prospect justifies the reasoning back to you on why they should make a decision now on this call, and you'll say, all right, so what do you feel like you need to do to put yourself in the best possible position to actually be making 10K per month? And ideally they'll say, yeah, I just got to do it. They also might come back with you and just say, yeah, I still need to talk to my partner. So from here, you'll go for the deposit. You could go for some reframes. I'll talk about those in a later video, but right now we'll just keep this short and talk about going for the deposit. Do you need to ask your partner for permission when you get groceries or go out for lunch? Is there a dollar limit on what you're able to spend before your partner gets involved? They're going to say, yeah, of course. Okay, like I don't need to ask them to buy a coffee at Starbucks or lunch with friends, whatever it may be. Okay, then could I challenge you to put a refundable down payment of $200 as a form of commitment towards making a decision today in order to get you closer to achieving your goal, and then schedule a follow-up with them and their partner on the next call. Now let's talk about the fear objection, and there's many ways to overcome this and many different outcomes. I'm just going to go over a few of the ones that I like, and maybe we can make a more detailed video in the future explaining them more in depth. Now once the prospect confirms that they like your offer and they think it can get them to their goals, then it really just depends on if they have the money or if they're being fearful. If you are not able to uncover a real objection and the prospect has already said that they like your offer and agree that it can get them to their goals, then you should figure out if they have the money or not by simply asking, so is it a case of uncertainty around the investment, or is it that you don't have the investment? If they don't, move on to money objection. And if they do have the money, follow it up with, okay, got it. Can I ask then, what is the uncertainty about specifically? Is it our offer? Is it yourself, the company? Is it me? Help me understand. This will uncover the type of fear objection, which can be handled in the following ways. Now, if it's fear of themselves about not being able to see results, maybe they have limiting belief in their ability, then simply reframe their mind by using an analogy like the following. Do you remember the first time you drove a car or rode a bike? Yeah. Were you nervous? Yeah. Well, you did it anyway, right? Why? Because you knew you needed to try it in order to make it work. And here, it's no different. I understand it might seem like a big step, and that's why we have our weekly live calls and accountability coach to make sure that you do not fail. We'll give you the vehicle. All you have to do is just hit gas. So what actions do you feel you should take in order to achieve your goal, get the outcome you want? And if they persist, saying, I'm not sure, I don't know, okay. Do you feel you're worthy of investing in yourself? Yes or no? Prospect says yes. Why do you feel you're worthy of investing in yourself? Prospect justifies why they should make a decision today. Then you say, okay, do you deserve the results? Yes or no? Of course, they're going to say yes, hopefully. If you deserve the results and you're worthy of the results, then what do you feel is the next step for you to actually get the results based on what we discussed? based on what we discuss is important to keep in there, so they tie everything back to the conversation that you just had with them. If it's about achieving your goal and you agree that what we do will get you to your goal, then from here the question is, are you the type of person who will put in the work and do what it takes to achieve the results? Yes or no? They're going to say yes. Then you'll say, being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone. And the reason you're able to make so much from it is because it takes sacrifice, risks, commitment, things that people are nervous to do. And that's why we have our coaching, our community, any tangibles that your offer has, in order to make sure that you do not fail. The roadmap for everything you want to achieve is provided for you. People have done it before you, and people will do it again after you. But the question is, are you willing to put in the work? Prospect says, yeah, I am. Okay. Then will you let the fear of the unknown control you, or are you willing to take that leap of faith? Then they'll say, yeah, okay, I'm willing to try. Reframe. Okay, where do you want to go from here? Giving them the sense of control over the conversation when in reality, you had it the entire time. Now let's move on to the next objection that you may be getting, and that is fear of the salesperson or just not having enough trust in you. If they say, yeah, I just met you today. I'm not trying to give you all this money. Okay. Yeah, I hear your concern, and I'm happy to go over our testimonials with you on this call. First, may I ask, though, is there anything I've shown you that makes you feel we cannot deliver? Prospect says, not really. No, I guess not. Okay. And I assume you've done some sort of research before coming on here today, because I imagine you're someone who's busy with a life and doesn't just hop on calls like this all the time, right? Well, yeah, right. And whether you know me or not, you still want to get your problem solved, right? Prospect says, yep. If we grew up together, say we were childhood best friends, and I showed you the same thing that we went over today, would you want to move forward then? Prospect's like, yeah, I suppose so. And you can say, okay, so the only problem here is that you don't know my last name or where I live. Prospect says, yeah, actually, that's true. Okay. And would you like me to go through our testimonials here with you? Would that make you more comfortable? And I like to add this in as well, just to get them over the edge, over that line. What is the worst case scenario, right? You invest today, and for whatever reason, in 12 months, you haven't made your money back, which is improbable. If you just meet us halfway and follow our framework, which has proven to work for clients in the past. Or option B, where you're making $10K per month in 6 months with your business. What really is the worst case scenario? You're like, yeah, I guess when you put it like that, it doesn't sound too bad. Right, okay, and now what do you think is the next step for you to get those results? Where do you want to go from here? That should close them, and if they have another fear objection, moving on to the final one of being scammed or failing in the past, again, maybe a bit of limiting belief or just trust here. If they say, yeah, I tried a program like this, it was a scam, didn't work, you can follow up with, okay, can you just tell me more about that? Did other people have results? Get a little more clarity on the situation. Find out if it was really a scam. Say, being completely honest with yourself, did you give it 100% of your effort every single day and leave nothing on the table? You might say yes or no, whatever it is. Then you'll say, okay, and we're not asking you to outbox Mike Tyson here, but just to meet us halfway, and we'll be with you every step of the way. Just give them that support, let them know you're going to be there, keeping them accountable. They're not alone in this process. And then you can ask something like, do you remember the first person who broke your heart? They'll probably say, yeah, okay. You can say, did you stop searching for a partner after the first person who broke your heart? They'll say, no, I didn't. Right, because failure is normal, but it's how we respond that makes the difference. Now, will you let your past failures hold you back, or will you move forward and improve? Which one makes more sense for you? With that in mind, where do you want to go from here?
Let's talk about how to handle the timing objection. They say, I have an event coming up. I can't start until I return. I don't have enough time, whatever it may be. You'll say, okay, that's not a problem. Just so I can see where you're at in terms of the process. Let's say we are talking about after the event or when you do have more time to commit towards this. What's next for you? Would you consider doing it then? They're going to say yes. You'll say, okay, I see then what I'm hearing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're 100% in with the process and the program. But the only thing keeping you from moving forward is this event or the timing or whatever it is that you have coming up. Is that right? You'll say, correct. You'll say, okay, is that coming more from a place of I'm not going to be able to devote the time and attention that I want, and because of that I will be better prepared next week, or more so from a place of I cannot physically and literally put any time into this until this date? They'll give you the answer, probably say something like, yeah, I just don't have the time. Say, okay, and that makes sense because that's how life works. There's always going to be an unexpected event or something happening. The difference between the ones that never make it and the ultra successful people is exactly how they behave in unexpected circumstances. The ones that never make it are the ones who aren't able to figure out how to make progress during difficult seasons, and is exactly why their momentum never lasts long, because tough seasons will always happen. They become a victim of their circumstances, while successful people, on the other hand, don't tolerate the standard and focus on progress. 10% is better than 0%. Would you agree? You'll probably say, yeah, okay, would agree with that statement. And you can say, so really, the question is, do you want to be successful in the long term, no matter what happens in life, or do you only want to be successful when the circumstances allow you to be? I'll say long term, are you sure? Yes. And then, okay, if that's the case, then
We have a process for that so you can build consistency and make progress in these tough seasons instead of becoming just a victim of circumstance. And I can walk you through that if you want. They'll say, okay, let's do it. And then propose a deposit. Basically, you'll upfront a small amount of the initial investment here with me as a down payment. That puts you in the following position. It acts as a commitment, drawing the line in the sand for you to make a decision today to becoming one step closer to achieving your goal. It will allow us to get you going with the onboarding logistics and the onboarding process. It will give you access to all the material so you can focus on progress. And then we'll set up your starting date on the calendar for when you are ready to give it 100%. Would that be helpful? They'll say, yeah, okay, collect the down payment and book an onboarding call. You could also say something like, hey, me, you, Elon Musk, all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's really about just what is a priority for us because we all make time for what is a priority. So is this a priority for you, getting the help you need so you can make 10K per month? They're going to say, yeah, okay, it is a priority. Then try to close them again on the down payment or deposit.
You can use the following if-then means belief reframe to help reframe the prospects. For example, if they have the mindset or say something like, if I use credit, then I'm financially irresponsible. When the truth is that doing nothing and staying in their current situation is what's actually irresponsible. And in this instance, we don't want to fight the credit. We want to challenge and break down their beliefs and the meaning. And we do this through reframing and asking questions because people try and protect their identity and the meanings of things. Now changing the meaning using the same facts will then support action instead of avoidance. So you do this by naming it out loud during the call so you both can see it. For example, you're saying if you use credit, then it means you're financially irresponsible. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, you just told me that you want to replace your $8,000 per month income within 90 days and that staying in the same place is unacceptable. And with that in mind, wouldn't the irresponsible move be staying in the same place you are while using a tool like credit with a plan and a payoff structure is what's actually responsible? Knowing that to be true, then the real issue is the ability to actually structure the payment plan safely, not that credit is evil. Is that right? And if they don't agree, just loop back once by saying, okay, well, what part of that doesn't quite make sense for you? And then you can address the real objection.
Let's talk about reframes. Now, you want to use questions that lead the prospect into answering in a way that agrees with your point of view while eliminating their objection or their fear. Use it sparingly, maybe when they have given you the think about it objection a couple of times, and you're trying to get them over the edge. Now, if you can get your point across without using comments, analogies, or statements, you will often beat the salesperson that cannot. This is because a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So you want to use internal persuasion to get them to answer the questions in your favor to convince themselves of your point of view. And you do this by ending in a commitment question to then lead the prospect towards answering the way that you want by giving them the feeling of control over the response, with each question getting a little bit more intense. And these commitment questions can look like, okay, with that in mind, what do you want to do from here? So what actions do you want or do you need to start doing to get the perspective that you want to have? So what do you need to do to put yourself in the best possible position to XYZ? For example, prospect says, hey, I just need to think about it. Yeah, okay, I understand this is a big move for you and that you might need some time to think about it. Can I ask you a question? Do you feel your mindset and decision-making process has gotten you to where you are today? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, and are you 100% happy with where you are in relation to your goal right now? To truth's question right here. Of course, they're not going to say that they're 100% happy. Nobody is 100% happy with anything. So they'll say no. And you can reply by saying, okay, and do you want that same decision-making process that got you to where you are today to dictate your results moving forward into the future? They'll say, no, okay, I guess not. And you say, why not? Why not just keep what you're doing? And they'll justify the reason back to you on why they need to make a change. And with the commitment question, with that in mind, what would you like to do from here? Another example. Again, they say, I still need to think about it. You can reply, yeah, that would make sense because we all make decisions based on our current perspective, right? But the hardest part is making decisions based on where we want to be. An overweight person is only overweight because they make the choices that an overweight person makes. It isn't until they make the decisions of a fit and healthy person that they become a fit and healthy person. They need to be the person before they can see the person. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. And so, with that in mind, what actions do you need to start doing to get the perspective that you want to have? Again, here trying to get them to convince themselves or answer the question in a way that will get them to see your point of view.
Let's talk about the deposit close. Now, we use this when the prospect is 100% tied down on the process and it's just a timing, financial objection, sometimes a partner and spouse, or they say, I don't get paid until next week, or I won't have the money until Friday. And the purpose of this is to get them to financially commit to some form of action with a refundable deposit, which helps locks in further follow-up calls, and your conversion, your show-up rate as well on follow-up calls will be much higher. And the way you would use this is after the tie down. For example, you would say, so just to be clear, it's not uncertainty around me or the program. It's just really about not having the full investment right now. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Okay, well, normally our clients do pay everything up front, but in some cases where someone is 100% in and it's simply just a matter of moving money around, what we do is we take a refundable deposit. If they ask why, normally we don't schedule follow-ups without taking a deposit, really just to protect our time. It also allows us to know that you're 100% in so that we can set up everything on the back end and give you some homework so that once the funds come through, we're able to hit the ground running, or even we can give you access into everything today so you can see how we do things. And then on our next call, we'll go through next steps, create an individual game plan for you. And then if for any reason, if something comes up and you can do it, no worries, we'll send it back to you. No problem. Sounds good? Yeah. Are you sure? You're not just being polite. Leaning out allows them to lean back in and buy themselves back in to convincing themselves that they want to do this. And then you can say, okay, look, the deposit is just $1,000 and I'll go ahead and drop that link here in the chat. If they say, I don't have enough money, yeah, not an issue. What would you have available today to put down as a form of commitment to yourself to get you to the point where you're making $10,000 consistently every month so you can travel the world, see your kids more often? They say nothing, or, I don't know, I'm not sure. Then you can go for the open wallet test. Okay, yeah, not an issue. I mean, would you be open to having an honest conversation about finances or where you're at financially right now? What do you have available in your checking account? Just ask them straight up, get a number, and try to get that down payment collected on the call. Now, if they say no, before you even tell them the deposit amount, for example, you say, yeah, in some cases we collect a refundable deposit so we can schedule you on our next call. Is that all right? And if they say no, you say, okay, I mean, how do you mean by that? It's like they're going to say, no, I don't understand why you need a deposit right now. It doesn't make any sense. I'll just show up on the next call. Just get them to explain exactly what they mean or what their problem is with getting that deposit put down. You say, okay, I can appreciate that. Now, can I be honest with you for a second? I mean, you just got done telling me you were 100% in, and now you're having trouble with a 100% refundable deposit, in which case you don't even know the amount. I could have said it's $50. So, I mean, what's really going on here? Try to get them to tell you the real objection. And of course, this only works once you've paced the first objection and tied them down, which you will do every single time. And now the second scenario is they said no after you told them the deposit amount, which you can still say, okay, well, I can appreciate that. Now, just to clarify here for a second, when you say you can't do the deposit, do you mean that you don't feel like the deposit is the right next step at the moment, or that finances are so tight right now that $1,000 would jeopardize your ability to keep the lights on, pay the bills, or put food on the table? Then they'll say one of two things. Either it's not appropriate, in which case we'll go to this next step here, scenario 2, part 2. Okay, well, I can appreciate that. Now, can you help me understand something for a second? You just got done telling me you were 100% in, but now you're saying that you're uncomfortable putting down a fully refundable, no-risk deposit on something you just said you were 100% in on a few minutes ago. So what's really going on here? They'll either tell you the real objection, or they'll say something that doesn't make any sense, which then you can proceed below. Okay, well, let's just take a step back for a second. Why did you come on this call in the first place? To fix your business and your lead generation, right? To be able to scale up to $50,000 per month. Am I wrong? No. So not only have we figured that problem out for ourselves and are way past $50,000 per month, but we also have hundreds of clients beyond that mark as well, which means we have a proven process to get to that outcome, which is exactly what you came on this call to get, right? So look, the refundable deposit is the first step in that proven process. And if the very first step in the process I tell you to do, you have a problem with, then how do you expect me to lead you to the result that you actually want? And then from there, you can say something like, so what do you feel like would put you in the best possible position to fix your lead generation, fix your XYZ, so you can get to that goal that you mentioned earlier? Yeah, I guess I got to do it. I'll put this down payment. I mean, you don't have to do anything, right? Are you sure you want to do it? Yeah, I'm sure. Why? Because XYZ, get them to tie themselves down again, and then collect that deposit. Now, if up here, once you told them the deposit amount and they said no afterwards, and then they proceed with this question, saying that, that they just do not have the money at all, that $1,000 is too much, it would jeopardize their ability to keep the lights on, pay their bills, or put food on the table. Then give them an open wallet test, get their cash on hand. You can ask about credit, and then maybe lower the amount to something that's more reasonable that they can't afford today. Of course, don't unintentionally shame or patronize them. Just, okay, are you open to having an open conversation about finances? Yeah, okay, what do you have in your checking? What's your credit score? Do you have access to any credit cards? Then try to collect some kind of down payment that fits within their budget there on the call. And that is it for the deposit close.
If you made it this far in the video, then congratulations, because you are different than most people. I mean, you wouldn't have made it this far if you weren't at least committed. And from here, you have two options. You can take what you learned and then just implement it yourself, or you can take your chance right now to book in a time to speak with me and my team about how we can possibly help you in achieving your goals. Because there are two types of people. Person A, who thinks they have it all figured out and wastes weeks or months trying to figure it out on their own. And person B, who wants to speed run their journey by finding somebody further ahead than they are to save themselves the time and energy that the other person has already spent. And if you're anything like me and you don't want to waste any more time or wait any longer to put yourself in the best possible position to succeed with your goals, then, like I said, take your chance right now to book in a time to speak with me and my team. All you have to do is click the top link in the description down below to find a time that works for you. Look forward to talking with you, homie. Speak soon.